The Hubble telescope orbits our planet, looking out at the big unknown universe. Since it's out of our atmosphere, the Hubble can see way further than telescopes on land. No clouds up there. This guy helped us confirm the theory about supermassive black holes in the center of galaxies. It also discovered a whole bunch of new galaxies, including the world's oldest one, which is about 8 billion years older than our own. But let's travel 25 light-years away to another special star, Fomalhaut. It's one of the brightest stars in the night sky, and it's in the constellation Southern Fish. It's almost twice as big and heavy as the Sun. If you look at it from far away, you can see a bright yellow disk around it. It's a debris disk full of bits of space rock, and it's huge. Its width is about 25 times the distance from the Earth to the Sun. Scientists were curious about it. Was all this space dust going to get smushed together and become a planet one day? But then they saw something else. Right there, through all that debris, was a massive, mysterious object. A large yellow dot orbiting the star. It looked like it was skating around a cosmic ice rink. So, in 2008, scientists announced they had discovered an exoplanet called Fomalhaut b. It was the first planet outside of our solar system that we could actually see with our own eyes. It's hard to know how heavy it is, probably like a couple of Marses put together, and it lives pretty far from its host star, about 4 times the distance from the Sun to Neptune. 1 year on the planet would be the same as 1,700 Earth years. We'd all be babies over there. So, one question. Does the planet even really exist? Scientists sat around arguing about it. Then, in 2012, the trusty Hubble telescope came up with some new data. It was real all along. If it was a gas giant like Jupiter or Saturn, that would make it incredibly young, 10 times younger than Earth. And all that dust around it seems to shine non-stop. You'd have to wear sunglasses 24/7. But now, it's disappeared again. Nothing but a donut of debris. So, maybe it was destroyed by a giant asteroid, like the one that wiped the dinosaurs off the face of the Earth. Or it may have been crushed by a rogue planet. These are planets that fly around the galaxy without a clear orbit. Maybe the dust is all that's left from a head-on collision. Or maybe something went crazy in the planet's core, and it exploded from within. Scientists now believe that Fomalhaut b was never actually a planet in the first place. It was just the leftovers of 2 big rocks smashing together. From far away, that kind of massive collision would actually just look like a yellow dot. These 2 colliding space rocks must have been at least 125 miles wide. That's like DC to Philadelphia wide. But this isn't the first time a planet's just up and disappeared from view. Scientists thought they'd found an Earth-sized planet orbiting our neighbor, Alpha Centauri. They called it Alpha Centauri b. Not exactly flashy. Plus, in the end, it turned out it didn't exist. Oops. Scientists make mistakes, just like the rest of us. Not long ago, they thought there might be life on Venus. They found traces of a special gas, phosphine, which can be a sign of life. It was the top story for a month. But then, someone decided to double-check the data. There was some phosphine floating around, but not nearly as much as they thought. Travel back in time a couple of hundred years, and you can find even sillier mistakes. Back then, people believed that the Sun revolved around the Earth, and that our planet was the center of the whole universe. That's because they didn't have fancy equipment to measure stuff. People saw the Sun rise in the east and set in the west. That was enough to say that the Sun revolved around us. So, what happened to that planet? Basically, the Hubble took a photo of the whole star system, but since it's so far away, the photo came out kind of blurry. Scientists just saw a large yellow dot and assumed it was a planet. Scientists don't usually get photos of far-off planets. They normally have to use math to find them. Space objects are in a constant dance with one another. The dance gives off a lot of energy, like gravitational energy and light energy. It's like this. Say your friend is hiding behind a corner. You can't see him, but you can see his shadow on the floor. It's kind of like what scientists do when they look out into the stars searching for planets. So, big deal, a planet vanished billions of miles from here. But what if our perfectly balanced solar system were to lose one of its planets? You better believe it would affect our lives. Mercury's up first. Good news, it's too small to have a gravitational effect on our planet, so we wouldn't even notice if it went missing. Next in line is Venus. This hot planet is sometimes called Earth's twin sister. It's completely uninhabited, of course. Other than that, Venus is one of the brightest spots in our night sky. Pull it out of the solar system and whoa, it's much darker at night. But still, not exactly a big deal. Mars. Life without Mars might even be good for the Earth. There's an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Mars's gravity can grab an asteroid from the belt, spin it around, and catapult it toward us. Without Mars, the asteroids would stay in place thanks to Jupiter's gravity. Jupiter's heavier than all the planets in our solar system combined. It holds back the asteroid belt, and its gravity is actually strong enough to affect the Earth. A couple of thousand years after it disappears, we'd notice big changes. We'd move closer to the Sun, which means a couple of things. 1. We'd have much hotter weather all year round, and 2. Our days, weeks, and years would be shorter. Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all too far away for us to notice if they go missing. That just leaves one. No, not Pluto. What if the Moon disappeared? Basically, chaos. The Earth would tilt even more than it already does, and the weather worldwide would go crazy, even crazier than now. It might even lead to a new ice age. The Earth would start spinning a lot faster, so instead of 24 hours in a day, we might have anywhere between 6 to 12. And even though nights would be a whole lot shorter, they'd also be darker than ever. When we see the moon, we're actually seeing the sun reflecting its light off the moon, and even a new moon is usually the brightest object in the night sky. If the sun were to disappear from our sky, it would be pretty much game over. This star is the center of our whole solar system. Without it, the orbits of all the planets would collapse, and we'd move around in complete chaos. The Earth, the Moon, and all the other neighboring planets would just shoot out into the universe, heading for, well, we just don't know. Daytime would be a thing of the past. We'd need the sun for that. So it would be nighttime forever. We'd probably never see the moon again. We'd probably never see anything again. The Earth would get colder and colder, and all the water on the planet would gradually freeze. But what if the sun turned into a black hole? We might still orbit around it. Hopefully, we're far enough away from it to stay safe. Mercury and Venus might be swallowed up, but we might get lucky. So we'd stay where we are, but we wouldn't have the sun to warm us. If it happened slowly enough, we might be able to adapt. We'd need a new power source, a new light source, and plants would have to adapt to get their energy from somewhere else. We'd probably need to build a huge tent-like thing over every city, forest, ocean, or we might just jump ship and move to another planet. TRES-2b, or not to be, is a planet where night never ends. And it's not your regular night with stars shining in the beautiful skies. Here it's pitch dark and scorching hot. TRES-2b is a gas giant, roughly 1.5 times more massive than Jupiter, and its surface absorbs light better than charcoal. It might also have a faint dark red glow because of its burning air, which is as hot as fresh lava. Lovely. In the star system of 55 Cancri, there are 5 planets, 4 of which are gas giants similar to Jupiter and Saturn. But the 5th one, or rather the first because it's closest to the star, is different in a most horrible way. 55 Cancri e is so close to its sun that half the planet's surface is a literal ocean of molten lava. The other half is in eternal darkness because it never sees the sun. The planet is always turned to its star on one side, and between the scorching and the dark, there's the twilight zone, a thin strip of gloomy nothingness. That's a getaway spot. HD 189377b, oh, I'm not going to say that again, is the only exoplanet in the orbit of its star, and at first glance it looks quite pretty, blue and white swirls making up wondrous patterns on the surface. But these pleasant colors actually come from hard silicate particles in the planet's atmosphere, which means it rains glass here. But the worst is that winds reach the speed of 5,400 miles per hour, or almost Mach 7. Well, for comparison, the fastest wind speed on Earth was 254 miles per hour, over 20 times less. Thus, the glass falling from the sky travels horizontally at hypersonic speeds, shredding everything in its path. Better duck. The next system, whose name I won't even try to pronounce, this one, has 3 exoplanets, which are all being slowly destroyed by their own star. It happens because that star is not a regular. It's a pulsar, a rapidly spinning core of an exploded star. It creates powerful electromagnetic pulses in several directions while rotating at several thousand times per second. As a result, the planets orbiting this deceased star are slowly being eaten away and will eventually disappear entirely. Kepler-70, hey, I can say that one, is a hot blue dwarf star that exploded into a red giant some 18 million years ago. At the time, it was orbited by at least 2 planets, the closer of which was a Jupiter-like gas giant. Its name was Kepler-70b, and it still exists, but the overgrown star consumed it and transformed it into a blazing hot rocky world. Right now, it's one of the hottest planets ever discovered. Its temperature is higher than the surface of our Sun. It was lucky to survive spending time inside the star, but it's evaporating now and will probably be no more in the near future. WASP-12b is one of the weirdest and saddest planets out there. The enormous gravity of its star, combined with the planets consisting mostly of gas, result in the star slowly devouring its protege. So pal, what's eating you? My mother. WASP-12b has already taken the form of an egg, stretched toward its merciless sun, and it's unable to do anything with its condition. In another 10 million years, the planet will inevitably succumb to the voracious star's appetite. Hey, you asked. If you ever wondered what it's like to walk on ice and hot coals at the same time, Gliese 436b is a planet that would give you a vivid example. Being extremely close to its sun, the Neptune-sized exoplanet boasts temperatures hotter than a blazing oven, and yet it's covered in ice, which burns incessantly. This ice is much denser due to the enormous gravity of the planet, staying solid even under extreme conditions and not melting away. No list of frightening worlds could do without mentioning Venus, the Earth's evil twin. The second planet from the Sun has an atmosphere so thick and full of clouds that its surface is much hotter than that of Mercury. Volcanic eruptions constantly thrash Venus. Its gravity is almost 100 times stronger than ours, and those clouds I mentioned are not made of water but of sulfuric acid, which condenses and rains down on the ground, adding to the inferno. But even if you were brave, or crazy, enough to try to pass through these clouds, you probably couldn't. The winds up there are as strong as some of the most powerful hurricanes back on Earth. Here we have a very long name for a very, very cold planet. Although the host star is not too far away, it's a small and rather cool red dwarf, whose light and heat barely even reach the planet. The temperatures out there fall as low as minus 370 degrees, which is only marginally warmer than absolute zero. The exoplanet is thus dark, gloomy, and covered in eternal ice that never thaws. I thought I thaw that somewhere. Still, if it has a rocky core, it might generate some heat, so there's a chance that deep below the frozen surface, some unknown alien things might lurk. Dimidium, located roughly 50 light-years away from our solar system, is a planet hostile to any living thing on many accounts. It's tidally locked to its sun, which means one of its sides is always facing the star, while the other is always turned away. The hot side is heated to over 1,800 degrees, perpetually blown over with winds reaching 600 miles per hour. And that's winter. Well, actually, I don't know that. Despite Dimidium being a gas giant, it has a large amount of iron in it, which melts and evaporates in the atmosphere, creating clouds. And when those cool down, they fall on the surface in the infernal rain of molten iron. That'll test your mettle. Oxygen is usually viewed as an element that might bring life to a planet, but this is definitely not the case for Osiris. Scientists were shocked to find oxygen on this planet, or rather around it, because it's 8 times closer to its star than Mercury is to the Sun. This extreme distance makes Osiris a living melting pot, where anything that could burn will. It's also responsible for a very short orbit of the planet around the star. A year on Osiris is just 3.5 days on Earth. To boot, the atmosphere of the planet is constantly blown and melted away by the heat from its sun. Vacation? Nah, let's keep looking. Karat XO 3b is neither as hot nor as cold as some of the others on this list, but it's terrifying in its own more insidious way. It's a gas giant similar in size to Jupiter, yet 20 times denser. This makes this exoplanet's gravity weigh down on everything on its surface 50 times more than it would on Earth. Stepping on it would be your ultimate doom, because you'd be immediately crushed by the density of its atmosphere. Karat 7b is another oven-like world. Its day-to-day temperature is over 4,000 degrees. Combined with the rocky surface, it presents an infernal landscape. The rocks on the ground bubble and boil, evaporating in the atmosphere, where they cool down and eventually fall back on the surface in a brimstone rain. The saddest thing about Karat 7b is that it might have once been a gas giant whose atmosphere melted away from the heat, leaving only the scorched core. So, planets with 2 suns, like Tatooine from Star Wars, used to sound like pure fantasy. For decades, scientists believed these systems were too unstable to exist. 2 stars tugging at a planet should fling it into space or drop it into one of the suns. Except, it turns out that nature didn't get the memo. Astronomers have found a planet calmly orbiting 2 stars like it's no big deal. This planet lives closer to its 2 parent stars than any other directly imaged planet in a binary star system astronomers have ever seen. Now, direct imaging means they saw the planet's light, not just its shadow. The whole system sits about 446 light-years away, so the light we see from it today left before humans ever built modern cities. This space monster is roughly 6 times the mass of Jupiter. And even more surprising, the planet is only about 13 million years old. That sounds ancient until you zoom out a little. Earth is about 4.6 billion years old, which makes this planet basically a newborn in cosmic terms. The 2 suns of this monster orbit each other incredibly fast and complete a full loop in just 18 Earth days. That means their gravity constantly shifts, yanking space around them like a cosmic washing machine. Even so, the planet stays locked in its path, so it takes it 300 Earth years to finish a single orbit. So nobody fully understands how this planet formed in the first place. When 2 stars orbit each other this closely, their gravity usually tears apart planet-forming material before anything big can take shape. Scientists have only found a few dozen planets like this so far, and that's nowhere near enough to piece together the full story. To solve the mystery, they need more data. Now, another cool find that still needs more research is a planet so stretched by gravity that it looks like a lemon, not a sphere. This planet is nothing like the calm blue and green worlds we see in space movies. It orbits a pulsar, which is basically a star's corpse. When a massive star expires, it collapses into an ultra-dense object that spins insanely fast and blasts radiation like a cosmic lighthouse. Being near one of those means game over for anything solid. And yet, this planet hangs on, barely. The gravity stretches it, pulling harder on the side facing the pulsar than the far side, like cosmic taffy. And here's where it gets extra unsettling. When scientists analyzed this planet's atmosphere, they didn't find water or oxygen. They found helium and pure carbon. No clouds, no oceans, no chance of life. According to everything we know about planet formation, this world shouldn't exist at all. So it might not be a planet in the normal sense. It could be the exposed core of a star that got shredded, leaving behind something stuck between planet and stellar corpse. That's a pretty scary trend. The line between planets and stars keeps getting blurry. And speaking of scary, meet this guy. This system lives around 2 red dwarf stars. These two stars orbit each other at a distance similar to how far Jupiter sits from the Sun. Scientists found two Earth-sized planets and a third possible one squeezed right up next to the stars. One planet completes a full year in just over 2 days. Another takes about 3.5 days. The candidate planet orbits even faster. To put that in perspective, these planets sit less than 2 million miles from their star. The Moon sits about 250,000 miles from Earth. So yeah, these worlds are close. When they combined data from space and ground-based telescopes, astronomers realized they were staring at something totally new: planets that transit or pass in front of both stars. Most planets in double-star systems orbit only one star, and this setup shouldn't last long according to the rules of physics. But these planets exist anyway, calmly breaking the rules. So this guy proves that planet formation works in ways we still don't fully understand, and space clearly enjoys messing with our expectations. Now let's crank up the horror a notch. Astronomers made the first ever 3D map of a planet outside our solar system. And not just any planet. This one is so hot it literally tears water molecules apart. As the planet moved behind its star, the James Webb watched tiny changes in the star's light at different colors or wavelengths. Some colors get absorbed by water vapor, others don't. By stacking all that info together, scientists figured out temperatures at different heights and locations in the planet's atmosphere. And that's how they learned that parts of its atmosphere heat up to nearly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than molten lava. This superhot planet sits about 400 light-years away and weighs around 10 times as much as Jupiter. It races around its star in just 23 hours. 1 year there is basically a day. And because it's so close, the temperatures get so high. Winds try to move heat around, but they totally fail. WASP 18b's atmosphere barely has any water and instead overflows with carbon monoxide. Astronomers once believed water should be common in giant planet atmospheres. This world proves water is optional, not guaranteed. Now, magma worlds are another perfect proof of that. There's a huge group of planets called sub-Neptunes, planets bigger than Earth but smaller than Neptune. For a while, some scientists hoped these worlds were Haitian planets, covered in deep oceans of water or ice, wrapped in thick atmospheres. One famous example was K2-18. Its atmosphere showed methane and carbon dioxide, but almost no ammonia. But as it turned out, lava dissolves ammonia too, so the missing ammonia doesn't prove water at all. It could just mean the planet has a global ocean of magma instead. The researchers modeled how these planets heat up, cool down, and evolve over time. They asked a simple question: do these planets ever cool enough to stop being lava worlds? And the answer was almost never. When they tested thousands of known sub-Neptunes, they say almost all of them are likely lava worlds, not water worlds. In simple terms, these planets don't breathe water vapor, they breathe rock vapor. Their atmospheres come from magma boiling, not oceans evaporating. And that changes everything. Many worlds we once labeled maybe habitable turn into hellscapes the moment you run the numbers honestly. And that means space isn't hiding Earth clones, but mass-producing furnaces and other sorts of monsters. Take this bad boy, for instance. It sits only about 64 light-years away, which is uncomfortably close in cosmic terms, and it's the nearest hot Jupiter to Earth. From afar, it looks stunning, a smooth, deep blue marble floating peacefully in space. But that color hides something absolutely brutal. On this planet, it rains glass, sideways. Winds scream across the atmosphere at around 5,400 miles per hour, fast enough to shred anything instantly. The blue color comes from tiny particles of silicate, the stuff glass is made of, floating in the air. The planet's surface temperature hits about 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt rock. That heat turns those silicates into microscopic shards of glass that whip around the planet like a worldwide sandblaster. Standing there wouldn't hurt. You wouldn't exist long enough to ever feel it. And then there's the darkest planet ever found. It reflects less than 1% of the light that hits it. It's darker than coal, darker than black paint. Light just disappears into it. Not all planets even bother with stars at all. Astronomers have found rogue planets, worlds kicked out of their solar systems. These lonely planets drift through space in total darkness, frozen and untethered, with no sunrise ever again. Now, all of this shows us that our universe isn't designed for life. Life survives despite the universe, not because of it. Earth isn't typical, it's lucky. We're only at the beginning of this discovery era. Every year, new telescopes sharpen the picture, and every year, the picture gets stranger. The more clearly we see the universe, the less it resembles our imagination, and that's the most unsettling truth of all. Now, for years, planets with two suns felt like science fiction, something that only worked in Star Wars, with those famous double sunsets on Tatooine. But now, astronomers think those worlds may actually be real. And not just one or two of them. Scientists have found 27 possible planets orbiting two stars at the same time. Along the way, they also spotted some other Star Wars worlds, too. Some worlds in the saga seem too extreme, but space actually has planets like that. For example, there are worlds like Kepler 10b and Kepler 78b. These planets orbit so close to their stars that their surfaces are literally melted rock. They're not a bit warm, we're talking about lava oceans. The ground is constantly reshaping, the crust trying to form and instantly getting torn apart again. If you stood there, which you absolutely wouldn't survive, it would be like standing next to a furnace where the floor under your feet is boiling. Even the chemistry there gets interesting. Those places might be packed with heavy elements like iron, which means that, in theory, it's the kind of world a mining company would love. In practice, it would be like trying to mine inside an active volcano vent. This planet is just like Mustafar from Star Wars, the place where Anakin and Obi-Wan had a lava duel. Now, let's visit another extreme world that basically looks like Hoth, a frozen, empty planet where there's nothing but snow, wind, and survival problems. In real life, we've found exoplanets that feel pretty close to that vibe, too. One example is this distant world. It floats more than 20,000 light-years away. It orbits a dim red dwarf star, so it barely gets any heat at all. The result, well, isn't nice. Temperatures drop below about minus 370 degrees Fahrenheit. That's colder than most natural environments we know of. The planet is a frozen rock drifting in near darkness. So if Hoth had a real twin, this would be it. Then there's Bespin, the gas giant with floating cities like Cloud City. In Star Wars, it's kind of romantic. Giant clouds, platforms, a whole civilization living in the sky. In reality, gas giants are usually the complete opposite of friendly. Most are just huge balls of hydrogen and helium with no solid surface at all. But astronomers have found some that sit in a more interesting zone. One example is 47 Ursae Majoris b. It's a gas giant, but its orbit puts it in a range where temperatures could be around 41 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not even cold, it's just, cool. And if a planet like that had the necessary kind of atmosphere layers or floating structures, sky habitats wouldn't sound totally impossible. Not likely, but not pure sci-fi either. When you line all of this up, it gets kind of suspicious. Most of our style lava worlds are real. Hoth-style frozen wastelands exist too. Even Bespin, like gas giants, can sit in comfortable temperature zones. So, what if Star Wars didn't just invent these environments, but borrowed them from real life? After all, some of those really existing worlds are too weird even for sci-fi, like circumbinary planets. Those are planets that orbit two stars at the same time. Astronomers have now confirmed more than 6,000 exoplanets. That's a huge number, but fewer than 20 of them are circumbinary. Imagine our Earth trying to circle two suns instead of one. The orbit would get very tricky very fast. This is probably why discoveries of such planets are so rare. Now, most planets are found using something called the transit method. It's quite simple. You watch a star, and if a planet crosses in front of it, the star gets a tiny bit dimmer. It's not a big blackout, more like someone briefly moving a coin across a distant flashlight. From that tiny dip in light, scientists can figure out size, orbit, and sometimes even what the planet is made of. But this method has one big issue. It only works if the planet's orbit lines up just right with our point of view. If the orbit is tilted or chaotic, which is common in binary systems, the planet might never cross the star from our angle, so we just won't see it. That's why binary star systems are tricky. It's not because they're rare. In fact, most stars in the universe probably live in systems with two or more stars. But planets in those systems tend to have unstable or complicated orbits, so detection gets even harder. And still, astronomers have managed to catch a few. One of the first big ones was Kepler 16b. It sits about 250 light-years away and is roughly the size and mass of Saturn. It orbits two stars instead of one, but surprisingly, it does it in a stable way. The way this planet was discovered is kind of subtle. One of the scientists who worked on it explained that we had never actually seen the planet directly. We've only seen changes in brightness, tiny dips in the combined light of the system. Based on that pattern, scientists reconstructed what must be passing in front of the stars. There's also another detection trick for binary systems. Instead of just looking for dips in light, scientists now watch how the two stars move around each other. In a stable binary, their motion is predictable. But if something else, like a planet, is tugging on them, the rhythm gets off slightly. We can see small timing shifts and weird wobbles. That's a clue that something invisible is there. Researchers have recently tested this idea on data from nearly 1,600 binary systems with the help of NASA's TESS telescope. They found 27 systems that might contain planets, and more than half of the candidates were likely smaller than Jupiter. But these are still maybe detections. To confirm them, scientists need more data, like deeper light analysis and follow-up observations. Now, even experts are cautious here. When scientists explain that a lot of our knowledge about exoplanets comes from the planets that are easiest for us to detect. In other words, we're not seeing a full picture of the universe, and there could be many more strange or hidden worlds out there that our current methods simply miss. Then there's another problem. Planets in binary systems might not survive long. Some studies suggest two main outcomes. Either the planet gets pulled too close to its parent stars and is torn apart by gravity, or it gets flung out of the system completely. In both cases, the planet is a goner. So, even if circumbinary planets are more common than we think, they might not stick around long enough for us to easily find them. That's why researchers are now trying new methods, because right now, the big issue is how many planets likely hide in plain sight, simply because our tools aren't designed to see them. But we can detect other cool planets orbiting single stars, and some might even be suitable for colonization, like a planet candidate called GJ887d. It's not too far from Earth, just 10.7 light-years away. Scientists call it a super-Earth because it's bigger than our planet and heavy enough to have strong gravity and a thick atmosphere. Another great thing is that its parent star doesn't flare up much. Big stellar flares can blast away a planet's atmosphere, so the fewer flares there are, the better chance a planet has of holding on to air, water, and maybe even life. Another potentially habitable exoplanet is Gliese 667cc. is just 22 light-years from Earth. This planet is around 4 times as massive as ours, and completes one orbit around its host star within 28 days. In other words, a year on this Earth-like planet is 13 times shorter than a year on our planet. Luckily, the star is a cool red dwarf, so the exoplanet most likely lies in its habitable zone, an area around a star where a planet could have liquid water. But there's still a chance that this world might be regularly baked by the flares from its parent star. And that's the thing. The more planets we discover, the less our solar system looks normal. Worlds with lava oceans, twin suns, and giant storms may not be rare at all. And we've just started looking. Dark, mysterious, cold space. Comets, asteroids, planets, stars, and something that's lurking over there, far beyond Pluto. Yup, this could be the 9th planet of our solar system, the one people have been wondering about for centuries. IRAS, which stands for the Infrared Astronomical Satellite, collected interesting data back in 1983. It could be proof that Planet 9 is hiding there. No one knows if it really exists, but this discovery helped to build a model to understand this potential planet better. And in 2016, scientists found out that some small space objects in the Kuiper Belt were orbiting a bit oddly. The Kuiper Belt is the outer area of our solar system. It's a ring in the shape of a donut, filled with leftovers from the times when our solar system was forming. You can find this donut beyond Neptune. The objects in that region of space have weird orbits, almost as if a big body with strong gravity is pushing them away. Knock knock, Planet 9 again. The theory says it might be 5 to 10 times the mass of our own planet and up to 20 times further away than Neptune. The astronomical unit equals the distance between our planet and the Sun. Pluto is approximately 40 astronomical units from the Sun, but Planet 9, if it exists, is 400 to 800 astronomical units away. It would take 10,000 to 20,000 Earth years for this mysterious planet to make a single circle around the Sun. This makes it harder for us to catch this space body. There's a theory Planet 9 may have formed between the orbits of Jupiter and Neptune, similar to the rest of the gas giants in our solar system. The gravitational force of one of the 2 huge planets probably kicked it out of its orbit. Oh no. Then Planet 9 could get ejected further away from the 8 planets we know about. It ended up as some sort of icy waste, quite small at the beginning. But as time went by, Planet 9 has cleared its orbit of frozen pieces of rock and dust and finally formed into a real planet. Another theory says that this could be a planet another star lost on its way while it was passing near our solar system. In any case, Planet 9 probably doesn't reflect that much sunlight since it's so far away. And astronomers aren't sure where exactly they should look for it. Space is dark, mysterious, endless, obviously. But if we do find Planet 9, it will be the first solid proof there are more planets in our solar system than we thought. Moving on to an interesting exoplanet, located only 90 light-years away from us. An exoplanet is generally a planet located outside our solar system. This one has an atmosphere with water clouds. 1 year there lasts 24 Earth days, and the planet travels around a red dwarf star, which is way dimmer and smaller than our Sun. That's why, even though the planet is 8 times closer to its star than we are to our Sun, the temperature there is similar to that on our planet. This exoplanet has a size similar to Neptune. It's also less dense, which means it's mostly made of gas, unlike Earth, which is made of rock. The average temperatures there is 140 degrees, which makes it one of the coolest small exoplanets we've ever discovered. And the cooler the exoplanet is, the bigger the chance we'll find clouds in its atmosphere. Researchers have discovered more than 4,000 exoplanets, but all of them have been found within the Milky Way, at least until now. For the first time, astronomers may have spotted a planet outside our galaxy. They called it M51 ULS-1. The planet is located in the Whirlpool Galaxy, a distant spiral galaxy 28 million light-years away from us. There was once a huge but pretty young star that got stuck in a gravitational dance with something that could be a dense neutron star, the collapsed core of a giant star, or a black hole. The star's dance partner had incredibly strong gravity. It was feeding on the star, greedily ripping away its plasma. Then something unusual happened. An unknown, maybe even Saturn-sized object passed by and blocked this confrontation from our solar system. Now, no one can see what is going on. But this could potentially be the farthest planet we've ever discovered. There's a newly discovered planet outside our solar system. As large as Jupiter, it orbits 2 stars. And, as we can observe it from our planet, it crosses in front of them both. The full circle around these 2 stars, which means 1 year, takes approximately 200 Earth days. On the day of the discovery of the previous planet, scientists also found it had an unusual companion. It's an extra-hot Jupiter with an ultra-tight orbit around its star. The year there lasts only 1.9 Earth days. This planet has a weirdly shaped orbit. Also, it travels in the opposite direction from the rotation of its star. If you could travel 57 light-years away from our planet, you'd see something pink lurking in the darkness. As you get closer, it becomes bigger and more fascinating. Yup, it's a magenta-colored planet. A few billion miles away from its sun, this guy is one of the youngest planets scientists have discovered. It's only 100 to 200 million years old. It's made of pink gas, similar to our Jupiter. So, if you could fly closer to its surface, this gas would envelop you like a thick fog. You're coming closer and going deeper, and the gas is becoming darker, getting a reddish shade. And look at the planet's core. It's super hot. Because of its high temperature of 460 degrees Fahrenheit, this planet is like an oven. The heat is the reason the planet glows so brightly. You'll also notice the sky is hazy pink, with clouds made of droplets of frozen water, similar to ours. There is another exoplanet half as massive as Earth, which is one of the smallest planets we've ever found outside our solar system. It has a diameter of 5,600 miles. For comparison, Earth's diameter is 7,900 miles. The planet in question is mostly made of iron, similar to Mercury. Mercury has a massive iron core and a very thin crust, which makes it an oddball in our solar system. At its early stages, it collided with some space body at least once. That collision pulled its outer layers away, which is why only the firm iron core remained. Maybe this exoplanet participated in a huge space crash too. That's what probably took away the planet's mantle and left mostly its iron core. Or maybe this is just a remnant of a gaseous planet that used to be the size of Neptune. The atmosphere of the planet could be blown away by, let's say, a huge amount of radiation coming from the star. This planet is only 31 light-years away from us, and the day there is less than 8 Earth hours long. The planet is only a little bit bigger than Mars. People aren't likely to ever settle in that place because of its extreme temperatures that go up to 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. There might even be molten lava on the side of the planet that faces its star. Such temperatures are high enough to evaporate any atmosphere, so this planet might have had one in the past. Generally, gas giants like Jupiter can't support life because they have extreme weather conditions, temperature, and pressure, and there are no building blocks that might create life. But smaller terrestrial planets, such as, Earth, have more key ingredients like oxygen and liquid water. Plus, they have more temperate weather and other conditions. And still, not all of such planets support life, of course. It's not easy to find a planet with similar conditions as the ones we have on Earth, or at least the conditions that would allow life to develop there. But meet Kepler 22b, one of our most promising findings. It's 600 light-years away from us, twice bigger than our planet, and with temperatures of about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a so-called super-Earth. It's a category of planets unlike any we have in the solar system. They're more massive than Earth, but still lighter than ice giants such as Uranus or Neptune. Super-Earths can consist of rock, gas, or a mixture of these two. Kepler 22b is within the habitable zone of its parent star, which is less bright than our Sun. The planet probably has a rocky core. It may have an ocean, but it doesn't host any life. At least, we don't know about it yet. Now picture a strange world where molten metal falls from the sky. A planet where it rains glass, sideways. A place where the winds are many times the speed of sound. Even though these planets sound like stuff from a nightmare, they do exist. Would you survive on any of them? Nope. But come on, let's see why. Now, brace yourself, and I mean it literally, because WASP 127b is terrifyingly windy. On Earth, our most powerful storms produce winds around 200 miles per hour. And even Neptune, the windiest planet in our solar system, tops out at about 1100 miles per hour. But on 127b, winds dash across the equator at a staggering 20,500 miles per hour. That's 35 times faster than a jet and faster than the speed needed to orbit the Earth. 127b orbits a star similar to our Sun, but it's super close to its parent star, only 4.3 million miles away. That's why it takes just 4.2 days to make a full orbit. The heat there is insane. Cloud tops reach 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, which is enough to melt almost, anything. And 127b is supermassive. Well, kind of. It's a gas giant with a diameter 1.3 times that of Jupiter, but only 1/6 of Jupiter's mass, which makes it a giant, hot, puffy balloon floating in space. The planet's atmosphere is so expanded that it's basically a boiling, raging storm globe, completely unlivable. If you somehow ended up on 127b, survival would be, impossible. The winds would toss you around, the extreme heat would cook you, and the planet itself would offer no solid ground to stand on. You wouldn't be able to breathe, move, or survive even for a second in these extreme conditions. But shockingly, that's not the worst planet you could land on. Imagine a world where it literally rains iron. This is WASP 76b, a planet so close to its star that the day side scorches at over 4,300 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to vaporize metals into gas. The night side is cooler, but still a blistering 2,500 degrees. Such a temperature makes those metals condense into clouds and rain down, like molten malted milk balls falling from the sky. The planet orbits its star every 43 hours, and it's tidally locked, which means that one of its sides always faces the star. The winds on the planet are absolutely insane, blowing up to 11,200 miles per hour. They zoom across the planet, fueled by the extreme temperature difference between day and night. And 76b is huge. It's a gas giant twice the size of Jupiter. It's practically sitting on the edge of its star's outer atmosphere. Scientists say we don't fully understand the physics here. Eventually, this planet could spiral into its star, or radiation could strip away its atmosphere, leaving only a scorching rocky core. Now, a human on 76b wouldn't last a fraction of a second. The day side would instantly vaporize you, just like the night side. And don't forget about the winds. You'd be ripped apart before you even touch the ground, and iron rain would slam down around you like fiery pellets. Sounds like a place to avoid. Now, if you're looking for long-term real estate investments, avoid WASP 12b. This planet is over 1,300 light-years away in the Auriga constellation. It orbits its sun-like star extremely closely, completing one orbit in just over one Earth day, about 26 hours. The planet's surface temperature reaches nearly 4,600 degrees Fahrenheit. It is 40% more massive than Jupiter, but powerful tidal forces stretch it into a football shape. But the main problem is that the atmosphere of this planet has expanded to nearly 3 times Jupiter's radius and is being pulled onto the star. And that means the planet is slowly being destroyed. Astronomers think that in about 3 to 10 million years, the planet could be gone for good. They found a huge cloud of stuff flying off the planet, including chemicals never seen on other planets before. No one would survive on 12b. The surface temperature is hotter than molten lava or any furnace on Earth. Any protective suit would fail instantly. The atmosphere is being ripped away by the planet's star, so there's no breathable air, just superheated hydrogen and helium streaming away into space. Plus, the gravity is extreme, so moving there would be, impossible. In any case, you would be vaporized almost instantly before trying to take a step. But however bad this planet sounds, the next world on our list beats it, because it rains glass on this planet. HD 189733b, I'll just nickname it Bubba, is a truly terrifying place, just 64.5 light-years from Earth. It's a gas giant, slightly bigger than Jupiter, and about 11% wider. But don't let that fool you. This world is a nightmare. Winds roar across the planet at up to 5,400 miles per hour, which is about 7 times the speed of sound. Temperatures soar between 1,600 and 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt metal. The planet also spins incredibly fast, completing one orbit in just 2.2 days. It races around its star at roughly 341,000 miles per hour. Its cobalt blue color comes not from water, but from a scorching, hazy atmosphere filled with silicate clouds. These clouds can condense into glass, and the planet's hurricane-force winds likely fling it sideways, making the rain fatal. Bubba is a hot Jupiter, a huge gaseous planet racing in a tight orbit around its star. It's also one of the most extreme, hostile worlds astronomers have ever found. If you somehow ended up in this world, survival would be out of the question. The heat alone is lethal. Insane winds would slam you around. An umbrella wouldn't save you from glass raining sideways, which would shred you in seconds. In short, you wouldn't last a heartbeat in this inhospitable world. But there's a planet that makes almost every other world look tame. It's Gliese 436b. It's small for an exoplanet, roughly the size and mass of Neptune, but don't let that fool you. Its proximity to its star turns it into one of the most extreme planets we know. 436b orbits a red dwarf star just 2.5 million miles away. To put that into perspective, Mercury, the closest planet to our Sun, is nearly 36 million miles out. This means that 436b races around its star every 2 days and 15.5 hours. That's lightning fast. A year there is shorter than a long weekend on Earth. The surface temperature is a balming 820 degrees Fahrenheit, which doesn't sound too bad in comparison. But there's the twist. The planet is covered with ice. Now, that's not ordinary ice, though. This is Ice 7, a dense, crystalline form of water created under unimaginable pressure. Imagine water so tightly packed that instead of melting under extreme heat, it remains solid. Scientists call it burning ice, and it's a form of ice that Earth laboratories can only replicate under controlled conditions. The atmosphere of the planet is just as bizarre. The planet is mostly hydrogen, like a gas giant, but it contains 7,000 times less methane than expected. Instead, astronomers find a surprising amount of carbon monoxide, which shouldn't survive in such heat. To make it even stranger, 436b is losing its atmosphere. The planet is wrapped in a huge cloud of hydrogen, probably pushed out by the strong gravity from being so close to its star. This cloud is 50 times bigger than the star itself. Unlike a comet's tail, it doesn't get blown away. It follows the planet. Astronomers think that 436b has already lost up to 10% of its atmosphere. Now, if a human, like you, somehow landed on Gliese 436b, survival would be impossible from the first second. The surface temperature is hot enough to vaporize skin and incinerate anything exposed. The gravity is crushing because the planet is dense and packed tightly with matter, which would make a person feel like trying to lift a car with every step. Even worse, can it get worse? Yes. The atmosphere is mostly hydrogen with high levels of carbon monoxide. Breathing would be instantly toxic, and a single inhale would shut down your lungs. And that burning ice is so solid under pressure that even if you somehow avoided the heat and toxic air, the ground itself would be a strange, brittle, crystalline surface that could fracture or collapse underfoot. Add to that the planet's rapid orbit. Completing a full year so fast means winds and atmospheric currents are extreme. No shelter, no suit, and no parachute could protect you. In short, you would be instantly boiled, crushed, and poisoned, all while the strange, dense ice underfoot refuses to melt. Well, bye-bye. This planet, yeah, the one right here, shouldn't exist, but it does. A newly discovered planet rotates around a star that's much smaller and dimmer than our Sun. The planet, however, is enormous. Such a tiny star couldn't create it, so it's like finding an ostrich egg in a chicken coop. A team at Penn State built a special tool called the Habitable Zone Planet Finder. It's an instrument that's supposed to find planets around dim, cool stars. It's connected to a big telescope in Texas. The tool looks at the light from these stars, which is mostly in the near infrared, beyond what our eyes can see. This gadget can spot changes in a star's speed caused by a planet. If the star movement slightly changes, that means there must be a gravitational pull nearby. Years ago, this technique helped find the first known exoplanet around a star like our Sun. Today, we've improved this method to make more precise measurements. Our main goal is to find Earth-like planets. They should be rocky and located in habitable zones, areas around stars where liquid water could exist. The Doppler technique isn't that great at finding Earth-like worlds yet, but works well for cool, dim stars. And that's how we discovered the impossible LHS 3154b. Planets usually form in disks made of gas and dust in space. Picture a flat, spinning cloud of tiny particles. These particles come together and stick to each other, creating a flat, rotating disk. Over time, these tiny bits combine to form a solid core. This is the starting point for a planet. Once the core is there, it attracts more dust and even gas like hydrogen and helium. But making a planet this way isn't easy. They need a lot of stuff, mass, and materials. This process is called core accretion. Stars are a huge help in that process. Usually, big stars have more gravity, so they can gather more stuff to form planets. But the star we discovered recently isn't very big. It's 9 times smaller than our Sun. A star this small shouldn't have a big enough disk to make a heavy planet. To do that, its disk should have been at least 10 times bigger. But this heavy planet, LHS 3154b, exists. Now, this mysterious planet is 13 times heavier than our Earth. It's similar in size to Neptune. It's about 50 light-years away from us in the Hercules constellation, which, in space terms, is very close. The planet is also super close to its star, completing 1 year in almost 4 days. This discovery is making scientists rethink their ideas about how planets and stars come into existence. There are new theories coming around. For example, a theory called gravitational instability. It says that, instead of the pieces coming together bit by bit, the material in the disk collapses all at once, directly creating a planet. But even with this theory, it's hard to explain how such a heavy planet could form without a really massive disk. It'll take us some time to figure out the truth. This isn't the first planet that makes us doubt our theories. Recently, scientists found another planet called Hala. This planet is orbiting a star called Baekdu, and just like the previous one, it shouldn't really exist. It's way too close to its star. Stars change a lot during their lives. Normally, when a star becomes big and prepares to leave this world, it's called the red giant stage. A star like that tends to destroy or push away any nearby planets, creating a huge mess. Hala rotates around a red giant, and it should have been swallowed or destroyed by the expanding star a long time ago. But it's still hanging there. Even though Baekdu has already started burning helium and shrunk to a smaller size than expected, Hala isn't bothered in the slightest. Scientists call Hala the Forbidden Planet. Ooh. This discovery challenges what we thought about how planets survive near aging stars. It raises 2 theories. One suggests that Baekdu was once 2 stars, a white dwarf and a red giant. Hala orbited them both, and they merged before the red giant fully expanded. This allowed Hala to survive because the extra helium from the white dwarf prevented the red giant from growing too much. The second theory says that Hala formed from the debris created when the 2 stars merged. In this scenario, Hala would be a very young planet orbiting an elderly star. Astronomers plan to continue studying Hala and look for more planets like that. Another oddball, besides me, is called LTT 9779b. This one scares us too because it's too shiny. The planet reflects 80% of the light from its star. Regular mirrors reflect from 85 to almost 100% of light, which means that this mysterious planet should look like a rough mirror, with aluminum or silver-like reflections. This is another Neptune-sized planet. It's located 268 light-years from us and was discovered by NASA's TESS spacecraft. It completes a full rotation around its star in just 19 hours. It's so close to its star that it's scorching hot, reaching temperatures over 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Normally, planets this close lose their atmosphere and turn into bare rocks. But this one breaks the rules again. Now this time, we know the secret of its survival. It's because of the planet's shiny metallic clouds, which are made of glass and titanium salt. These clouds rain titanium onto its hot surface. They also reflect a lot of the light, preventing the planet from getting too hot and losing its atmosphere. It's like having a mirror shield. This planet's size also surprised scientists. It's way bigger than Earth. Other planets this close to their stars are either much bigger gas giants or small rocky planets. This planet is a smaller gas giant, and scientists didn't expect it to exist so close to its star. This is the shiniest planet ever found, even shinier than Venus. But despite its cool appearance, it's probably not a friendly place for life because of its extreme temperatures and strange metallic rain. And our final rule breaker is a planet called WASP 107b. Scientists discovered it using the James Webb Space Telescope. It's located around 208 light-years from us in the Virgo constellation. It's also fast and completes an orbit around its star in just 6 days. This is a super-Neptune exoplanet. It's similar to Jupiter in some ways, including the same size and scorching hot temperatures. But the main difference is that it's much lighter, weaker, and less dense. This is the least dense planet we've discovered so far. After researching some more, we also found that it has a tail. The helium on the planet extends beyond the transit egress. The planet is slowly losing its atmosphere due to extreme ultraviolet radiation from the star. This creates a comet-like tail. So, it looks like a fluffy comet. But that was just the beginning. The planet's low density, or fluffiness, allowed astronomers to study its atmosphere in detail. They found some surprising things, like water vapor and clouds made of fine silicate particles, which are like really fine-grained sand. The planet's host star doesn't emit a lot of high-energy light. But since WASP 107b is so loose, the light can penetrate deep into its atmosphere. This creates sulfur dioxide that smell when you light a match. In other words, it's a fluffy planet that rains sand and smells like matches. The researchers think the sand clouds in the atmosphere form in a similar way to clouds on Earth. They just have droplets of sand instead of water. These sand droplets condense, fall, turn into silicate vapor in hot layers within the planet, and then rise again to form clouds once more. And, once again, this planet couldn't have formed in its current spot. Astronomers say that it likely moved closer to its star from a birth orbit because it was attracted by some heavier neighbor. It also follows a retrograde orbit, meaning it orbits in the opposite direction to its star's rotation. All these discoveries are changing how we understand planets and their atmospheres, giving us new insights into the mysteries of our own solar system. So, Mars has several faces. No, really. Back in 1976, when the Viking 1 orbiter was checking out the red planet, it spotted something interesting, a big structure that looked like a human face. It was in the region called Cydonia. It soon became very popular. A bit later, we also discovered the so-called crown face in Libya Montes. Mars in general has a lot of strange structures on it. In 2022, we spotted a door-like structure there. NASA's Curiosity rover snapped some pictures of a rocky mound called East Cliffs on Mount Sharp. This mound has natural cracks in it, and one of them is about the size of a dog door, like something from an ancient Egyptian tomb. A lot of people hyped that story up. The image was shared widely on social media, making the crack look bigger than it really is. Some people think that it's hinting at extraterrestrial life. But after looking closely, NASA found out that it was just a narrow crack in the rocky terrain. These cracks and gaps are pretty normal in rocky areas, both on Earth and Mars. The crack formed naturally over time, maybe from wind erosion or Mars quakes. Mars is a gold mine of mysterious structures. Recently, we found some strange spiral shapes there. These are giant coils made of lava, and they look like big springs or loops. For years, we weren't sure whether Martian valleys were formed by lava or ice. These lava coils are shedding light on that mystery. Now, thanks to high-resolution images from NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, researchers have spotted 269 lava spirals that can't be explained by ice-related activities. What's fascinating is these lava coils are like the ones we see on Earth, like those formed by Hawaiian lava flows. These spirals are so well preserved that they were easily overlooked before. They range from 16 to almost 100 feet wide and are subtle, blending into the dusty Martian landscape. These coils can teach us a lot about Mars's composition, especially its crust and mantle. We still don't know much about those. But Mars isn't the only planet with strange structures on it. For example, Saturn, the gas giant of our solar system, has a fascinating feature at its north pole, a huge hexagon. This is a hexagon-shaped cloud pattern that's about 9,000 miles long, making it larger than the diameter of Earth. It's thought to be a jet stream made of gases moving very fast, at about 200 miles per hour. This hexagon was first spotted by the Voyager mission in the 80s, and later seen up close by the Cassini mission in 2006. The Cassini mission noticed a change in its color from blue to golden over time. There are different ideas about why Saturn has this thing. One theory suggests it forms because of the way winds move at different speeds near Saturn's poles. Similar shapes were created in lab experiments when liquids were rotated at different speeds. Another idea suggests that a slow spinning stream of air, along with Saturn's special weather patterns, might be responsible. In 2020, we found that when storms are surrounded by winds swirling in the opposite direction, they can create a steady hexagon shape. So far, this is the most likely explanation. Saturn also got lucky with the bizarre moons. One of them is called Lapidus. This moon has a weird feature, a huge ridge that wraps around its middle like a giant belt. This basically makes it look like a giant walnut. Where's my nutcracker? This ridge is incredibly tall by our standards, around 8 up to 12 miles high and stretching 124 miles wide. It covers more than 3/4 of the moon's surface and is considered the third largest mountain range in the entire solar system. Now, we don't have a clue about how this enormous ridge formed. It's unlike anything seen on other planets or moons. There's one idea, though. The ridge might be the remnants of a dead moon. Let's say billions of years ago, a colossal impact shattered chunks of material off Lapidus. These pieces circled around the moon, forming a mini-moon or sub-satellite. And over time, the gravitational pull of Lapidus tore this mini-moon apart, creating a ring of debris around it. As the debris from this ring fell back onto Lapidus, it built up the massive ridge we see today. They think this process happened quickly, maybe over centuries. Saturn's gravity didn't interfere because, luckily, Lapidus was quite far away from it. If Lapidus was closer to Saturn, its moon might have been pulled away. But we do need more simulations to see if this theory is true. Titan, another one of Saturn's moons, also has some weird stuff going on in its methane seas. Scientists have spotted these strange bright spots called magic islands that seem to pop up and disappear over time. We have no idea what they are. Titan's atmosphere is packed with complex organic molecules that clump together and fall to its surface like snow. These magic islands might be snow clumps that soak up methane and sink very slowly. But there's a problem. In water, molecules stick together, which is why stuff can float on top of it. But methane is different. It likes to grab onto other molecules, so it makes any solid thing sink immediately. Yet, these magic islands don't sink. There's a theory that these islands might be like sponges made of ice with lots of holes. When pieces of this holy ice come loose from the edge of the lake, they can float on Titan's seas for a bit before going down under. There are also other ideas, like bubbles of nitrogen gas or waves caused by wind. We need more research to know for sure. Moons like to be weird. Just look at our own one. In 1971, we found a patch with missing soil on our moon, and it looks like a blue lake. They call this mysterious spot Ina. We first spotted it during the Apollo 15 mission in 1971. Later, the Apollo 17 mission took clearer pictures of it. This spot, shaped like a bluish D letter, is one of the weirdest things on the moon. The color comes from special rocks rich in titanium called basalts. These rocks cover Ina's floor and make it look blue. There are also bluish areas near the edges of the mounds inside Ina. Ina is unique and probably has a long history. It might have had volcanic activity, with mounds that are about 3.5 billion years old. It's similar to the surface age of the volcanic field that surrounds Ina. Now, our moon has its own face, just like those on Mars. There's an area near the moon's south pole that looks like a face, but it's just a bunch of craters and shadows that happen to make an image resembling a face when seen from far away. These craters have been there for billions of years and cover about 16% of the moon's surface. Some of these craters might even have water and ice inside of them. You might be wondering why there are so many faces in our solar system. Well, that's because our brains are wired to recognize faces, even when there aren't any. It's a phenomenon called pareidolia. Our brains try to make sense of shapes, so when we see something that looks a bit like a human, our brain turns it into one because it's familiar. Like when you see a shadow figure on a chair with clothes, or even on Mercury. Some people see shapes like Mickey Mouse. So don't worry, it's not extraterrestrial life. It's our brains that play tricks on us, making us see familiar shapes like faces even where they don't really exist.
Our solar system might have some more planets up its sleeve. We know about 8 official planets, but they're not the only ones that survived the chaotic formation of our solar system 4.5 billion years ago. Astronomers say there are 3 categories of planets in our solar system. We're in the first one, the 4 rocky inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, that peacefully orbit the Sun. They're located within the main asteroid belt that separates Mars from Jupiter, which is in category number 2. That one's a group of planets in the outer solar system, the gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These planets have huge amounts of ice and gas around what scientists believe to be their rocky cores. The third group lies beyond the area where our local planets are, somewhere further than Neptune. It's the realm where you'll find dwarf planets such as Pluto, Eris, and Sedna, and many smaller space bodies like comets. But new findings say there could be something else lurking in the dark, besides dwarf planets and tiny space bodies. Maybe even a new planet! Models scientists made say that our solar system used to have 1 or more rocky planets, the size of Mars or Earth. Over time, these rocky wanderers interacted with the wide gravity fields of our gas giants. This kicked them into a far-out orbit, away from the neighborhood. The question is, if one of those Mars-sized planets survived and could really be somewhere out there. Scientists have made simulations to see what potentially happened. These showed that in half of such cases where planets interact with the gravity of gas giants, they get ejected into interstellar space. In the remaining half, there's this one rogue planet left in an orbit similar to the ones the Kuiper Belt objects are following. There's only one thing left to do now: find it. Astronomers found the loneliest planet in the universe. They were trying to find distant brown dwarf stars, or failed stars, ones that never become massive enough to start shining. Stars are born with big masses, which means they also have strong self-gravity. The star squeezes in on itself. That causes high internal temperatures and enables the star to shine. But instead, they found a lonely wanderer, CFBD SIR 2149. The planet is between 50 and 120 million years old and has a surface temperature of 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Compared to stars, that's cold. At first, scientists thought it could be a brown dwarf star, but in that case, it would be way older. This starless planet floats around through space, passing only 130 light-years away from our planet. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is 100,000 light-years wide, so that's relatively close. The lonely traveler is actually a gas giant, 4 to 7 times bigger than Jupiter. Maybe it was kicked out from its own solar system because of gravitational forces, or getting into another planet's orbit. Or it was formed away from its parent star. Far beyond Pluto, on the edge of our solar system, there's a space body about as big as Pluto, but a little bit colder and way denser. It's probably a big rocky body covered in a thin icy mantle. It's the dwarf planet Eris. Both Pluto and Eris occupy the Kuiper Belt, which is the distant ring of frigid space bodies that lies beyond Neptune. A day there lasts 25.9 hours, pretty similar to Earth. But Eris circles our sun in the distance 3 times farther than Pluto, which means its year is pretty long, 557 Earth years. Eris has a bright, icy surface. It's one of the most reflective bodies in our solar system. It bounces back more than 95% of the light that strikes it. Somewhere out there, even farther, there's a super Saturn, J1407b, much larger than Jupiter or Saturn. It's an exoplanet, which means a planet that orbits a star other than our Sun. Super Saturn is 434 light-years away from Earth in the constellation of Centaurus. It's the only exoplanet we know about with rings similar to Saturn. It actually has a huge ring system, 200 times bigger than Saturn's rings. There are more than 30 rings, each of them tens of millions of miles in diameter. There are gaps in the rings, which means there could be some interesting satellites, exomoons, around. If this super Saturn could swap places with our regular Saturn, its rings would absolutely dominate our sky. You could look up and easily see them. The view would be amazing because they would appear much bigger than a full moon. Scientists have found thousands of planets outside of our solar system. Some are dense as iron, while others are airy and light. And then there's the water world, GJ1214b, a steamy world, bigger than Earth and smaller than Uranus, 40 light-years away from us, in the constellation of Ophiuchus. It's a watery planet surrounded by a thick atmosphere, 2.7 times Earth's diameter, and almost 7 times heavier than our home planet. It was most likely formed somewhere farther from its star, where there was plenty of water ice, but later migrated to where it is today. Its surface temperature is 440 degrees Fahrenheit, which is too hot to host life like on Earth. It also has much less rock and much more water than our planet. Imagine a planet with no land, but only endless oceans covering all of its surface. High pressures and temperatures would form things like superfluid water or hot ice, some pretty exotic materials that we can't see on our planet. Gliese 436b. It's a Neptune-sized exoplanet 30 light-years away from our planet in the constellation of Leo. It makes one full orbit around its star in a little more than 2 days. This planet defies the laws of physics. It orbits its star, Gliese 436, which is smaller, cooler, and less luminous than our Sun, at a distance 15 times closer than Mercury is to the Sun. When we typically think of ice, we picture a frozen cube. But this planet has an icy surface, even though the temperature there is 980 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature is way above the melting point, but the ice remains solid and burning hot. This happens because of very strong gravity. It compresses the water vapor in the atmosphere into solid ice. The pressure here doesn't allow the ice to melt, no matter how hot the surface is. Now imagine being on a mysterious planet and it suddenly starts raining sapphires and rubies. One distant exoplanet, HAT P7b, a gas giant 1,000 light-years away from Earth in the constellation of Cygnus and 16 times bigger, has specific weather and pretty violent storms. Rubies and sapphires are scattered across the planet when it's raining. On the planet's night side, there's a high amount of corundum in the atmosphere. And corundum is what mineral gems such as sapphires and rubies are made of. Clouds of corundum give such an amazing view. The planet is plagued by severe winds that often turn into powerful storms that push huge masses of those clouds across the planet. Although the planet is uninhabitable, it would certainly be cool to come there and pick up some gems. Still, the weather is pretty wild. Plus, the temperatures are over 4,600 degrees Fahrenheit. By comparison, Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system, and its temperature is only 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Looking over the expanse of space, you can see a beautiful little blue dot in the endless darkness. It's an exoplanet, HD 189733b, that lies 63 light-years from us in the constellation of Vulpecula. But it's way hotter and larger than our planet, around the size of Jupiter, and it completes its orbit around its host star in only 2.2 Earth days. That orbit is so close that the planet is most likely tidally locked. That means it's always showing only one face to its star, like our moon always shows one side to Earth. The weather here is crazy. The winds blow at up to 5,400 miles per hour, which is 7 times the speed of sound. The fastest wind on Earth only hit the mark of 230 miles per hour. And it gets better. The rain here is not made of water, but of molten glass. Clouds are made of silicate atoms and particles. They are the key element that gives the planet its cobalt blue color, not the reflection of oceans, which is the case with Earth. Earth used to be purple. Today, even when you look at our planet from space, you see a lot of green. The green we see in nature is there because of photosynthesis, the process where plants transform energy coming from the sun into energy they need to live and to produce oxygen for us. The main part of the process that gives plants the green color is the chlorophyll pigment. A long time ago, instead of chlorophyll, there was a molecule called retinol. Its pigments absorb yellow and green light and turn it into red and blue, so the Earth was more purple. And then there's a pink planet, GJ 504b, far away from us, in the Virgo constellation, 4 times more massive than Jupiter. It's a newly formed exoplanet, around 160 million years old. By comparison, the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. If we could go there, we would see an incredible world that glows from the heat of its formation. Everything around you would be colored magenta.
Have you heard about Planet 9? No, not Pluto. We're talking about something lurking on the outskirts of the solar system. A mysterious planet that exists in our solar system that we haven't yet discovered. We've been looking for it for years, but finally, it seems like scientists found a key to solve this mystery. Planet 9 is a hypothetical planet. Astronomers have been on the hunt for it for quite some time now. But it's so elusive that they've only been able to piece together a few details about its potential characteristics. One thing we do know is that Planet 9 has to be a massive world, possibly up to 10 times the mass of Earth. That's one big planet. It's also thought to be a distant wanderer, hanging out somewhere between Neptune and Pluto. Some scientists think that Planet 9 might actually be a mini Neptune, with a thick, gaseous atmosphere and a rocky core. Others speculate that it could be an icy world with a solid, frozen surface and a thick layer of hydrogen and helium gas. Of course, since we haven't actually found Planet 9 yet, we can't say for sure what it's like. We're not even sure that it even exists. Some say it's just a myth, like the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny, but others are convinced that it's out there somewhere. And at the end of the day, we're not entirely sure if Planet 9 is even a planet. It might be a special kind of black hole or made entirely of dark matter. The search for Planet 9 began in the early 21st century when a group of astronomers realized that something wasn't quite right with the outer reaches of our solar system. They noticed that some distant objects, known as trans-Neptunian objects, were behaving in unexpected ways. Trans-Neptunian objects, or TNOs, are like the cosmic version of those items in the back of your fridge that you forgot about for years. They're small, icy bodies that hang out in the Kuiper Belt, beyond Neptune. So, scientists noticed that these guys started behaving weirdly. At first, they thought it might be a fluke. But as they dug deeper, they began to suspect that there was a 9th planet lurking out there. Why haven't we discovered it yet, you ask? Well, it may be because of Planet 9's weird orbit. All the other 8 planets orbit the Sun in roughly the same plane, which is like a flat disk. However, our hypothetical friend's orbit is different. It might be tilted and move in a different direction compared to the other planets. Its orbit might also be stretched out like an oval, rather than being nearly circular like usual. Because of this, Planet 9 might spend most of its time far from the Sun, like a true introvert. It only comes relatively close to the inner solar system every few thousand years. This would make it super faint and hard to spot, so the only way we may discover it is by studying the gravitational effects it has on our solar system. And this isn't the first time astronomers have gone looking for a new planet. Back in the 19th century, there was a similar hunt for a hypothetical Planet X. But this time, they were armed with much better technology and a much better sense of humor. They began calling their elusive quarry Planet 9, which was much catchier than Planet X. They even came up with a hashtag for the search, Pluto Lives. It was a reference to the fact that Pluto had been kicked from the planet gang and some astronomers were eager to find a new planet to take its place. But the search for Planet 9 has been no easy task. It's like trying to find a lost sock in the laundry basket the size of a football stadium. It's so far away and so faint that even the most powerful telescopes can't see it. Instead, astronomers have had to rely on indirect evidence, like the strange orbits of TNOs, to try to figure out where it might be. Some scientists have even supposed that it might be a wandering rogue planet, which would explain why it's so hard to find. But they haven't given up hope. Till this day, they're scouring the skies using all sorts of high-tech telescopes and fancy algorithms to try and spot this elusive planet. And fear not, dear curious human, because it looks like after so many years of research, we may have finally found the key to solve this mystery. Astronomer Man Ho Chan from Hong Kong has a theory. He believes that Planet 9 could have a bevy of moons. That's right, not only is it a giant planet hiding out in the depths of space, but it's also a bit of a hoarder. Moons are all the rage in the outer solar system. In fact, almost every planet here has at least one moon, except for Mercury and Venus. Earth has just one, which is kind of sad if you think about it. Even non-planetary bodies like Pluto have at least a couple of moons. A bit unfair, isn't it? Anyway, taking this into account, let's go moon picking with Planet 9. The region between the rock-filled Kuiper Belt and the rock-filled Oort cloud, where this planet is predicted to be, should be ripe for the picking. Chan made some calculations and determined that it would be stranger if the elusive planet didn't have any satellites. According to his calculations, an object the mass of Planet 9 should capture at least 20 TNOs as large as almost 90 miles across. It's like our mysterious planet is playing cosmic Pokemon with these guys. So, what if Planet 9 has moons? Would that make any difference? Kinda, yes. They could give us some indirect clues to finally locate this mysterious planet. Now, you might be thinking, how in the cosmos can we possibly spot these teeny tiny moons? It's not like they're going to wave a giant flag or blast some Beyoncé tunes to get our attention. Well, apparently the key lies in something called tidal heating. Tidal heating might sound like a new workout trend, but it's a real scientific phenomenon. It happens when two celestial bodies are close together. You see, tides aren't just about the rise and fall of the ocean, they're also the result of gravity pulling unevenly on a planet or moon. When a planet and a moon are close enough to each other, their gravity pulls on each other, creating a bit of a football shape. And as these celestial bodies move around each other, they shift shape and generate friction inside, which produces heat. Wow, who knew that Planet 9 could have a workout routine? Perhaps we should start calling it Gym Planet instead. Anyway, if Planet 9 has any moons, the gravitational pull from these moons would cause it to change shape constantly, generating heat in the process. And we might be able to detect this mysterious planet through the heat produced by those moons, even though it gives off no other signals. Now, before you get too excited, finding them won't be a walk in the park. They're incredibly small and would be very far away from us. But hey, nothing worth discovering ever came easy, right? Scientists are optimistic that with the right technology, they can spot this telltale sign. It will be easier for us to spot them with fancy instruments like modern telescopes. Talk about cool friends to have, right? Sure, the process of finding it may be difficult and time-consuming, but the potential payoff is huge. finding this planet could explain a lot of the strange behavior observed in TNOs, the Kuiper Belt, and beyond. As we've already mentioned, they've been acting super weird lately, tilting and aligning in suspicious ways. If this planet doesn't actually exist, we have yet to explain what is the reason for this strange behavior. In any case, the search for Planet 9 is one of the most exciting and intriguing quests in modern astronomy. It's like a cosmic scavenger hunt, and everyone's invited to join in on the fun. So, grab your telescopes and let's go planet hunting. Who knows, maybe we'll find it sooner than we think.
Scientists may have just found evidence of a hidden planet in our own solar system. Not beyond distant stars, not in another galaxy. Right here, orbiting the Sun. For years, astronomers have been noticing something strange happening far beyond Neptune. Objects in the outer solar system were moving in ways that didn't quite make sense. Their orbits were stretched, tilted, and oddly aligned, as if something massive was pulling on them. Now, new studies suggest there may be a large, unseen planet hiding in the darkness. A world so distant and faint that telescopes have struggled to detect it directly. Some scientists call it Planet 9. Others still refer to it as Planet X. And if it exists, it could be one of the biggest discoveries in modern astronomy. To understand where this idea comes from, we need to look at the outer edge of the solar system. Beyond Neptune lies a vast region filled with icy objects, known as the Kuiper Belt. This area contains dwarf planets like Pluto, along with thousands of smaller bodies left over from the early formation of the solar system. Most of these objects follow predictable orbits around the Sun, but over time, astronomers began to notice that some of them behaved very differently. Several distant objects had highly elongated orbits that all pointed in roughly the same direction. Instead of being randomly distributed, their paths appeared clustered, almost as if something was guiding them. That was the first clue. In 2016, astronomers analyzing these unusual orbits proposed a possible explanation. They suggested that a large, unseen planet might be influencing these objects through gravity. According to their models, this hidden world could be about 5 to 10 times more massive than Earth. It might orbit the Sun at a distance of hundreds of astronomical units, meaning hundreds of times farther from the Sun than Earth. At that distance, one full orbit could take anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000 years. That would make it incredibly difficult to detect. Even large telescopes struggle to see objects that faint and distant. The planet would reflect very little sunlight, and it would move extremely slowly across the sky. But here's where things get more interesting. As more distant objects have been discovered, the pattern has continued. Additional trans-Neptunian objects show similar orbital clustering, strengthening the idea that something massive could be shaping their motion. Computer simulations have shown that a planet with the predicted mass and orbit could produce exactly this kind of effect. In other words, even though astronomers haven't directly seen Planet X, they may already be seeing its influence. There is another reason why this planet could have remained hidden for so long. Some models suggest that its orbit might be highly tilted compared to the rest of the solar system. Instead of orbiting neatly along the same flat plane as the planets, it could move at a steep angle, spending most of its time far above or below where astronomers typically search. It may also currently be located in a region of the sky that is difficult to observe, possibly hidden behind dense star fields or simply too faint to stand out. Because of this, scientists have been conducting targeted searches using powerful telescopes, scanning large sections of the sky over many years. So far, no direct image of Planet X has been confirmed, but the evidence continues to build. There are also alternative explanations. Some researchers argue that the strange orbits of distant objects could be caused by observational bias. Because astronomers tend to search certain regions of the sky more than others, the data might appear clustered, even if it is not. Others suggest that the combined gravitational influence of many smaller objects could create similar patterns. There is even a hypothesis that a past stellar encounter, when another star passed near our solar system millions of years ago, could have disturbed these orbits. But none of these explanations fully account for all the observed data. That is why the Planet X hypothesis remains one of the leading ideas, and the search is accelerating. New telescopes, including next-generation survey instruments, are expected to scan the sky with greater sensitivity than ever before. These surveys may finally be able to detect faint objects moving slowly in the distant solar system. If Planet X is real, astronomers believe it could be found within the next decade. And if it is discovered, it would reshape our understanding of how the solar system formed. Some theories suggest that this planet may have formed closer to the Sun and was later pushed outward by gravitational interactions with Jupiter and Saturn early in the solar system's history. Other ideas propose that it could even be a captured object from another star system. Either way, it would represent a completely new class of planet in our solar system. Right now, the outer solar system remains one of the least explored regions around us. We have mapped the surfaces of Mars and sent probes beyond Pluto, but vast areas of space around the Sun are still largely unknown. And somewhere out there, far beyond Neptune, a massive world could be moving slowly through the darkness, hidden from view. If scientists are right, Planet X has been there the entire time. We just didn't know where to look.
So, we might be getting closer to finding a massive icy planet beyond Neptune's orbit. Sorry Pluto, still not you. Recently, some universe mapping using data from a telescope in Hawaii eliminated about 78% of the possible locations for this mysterious Waldo from space. Some people call it Planet 9, while others prefer Planet X. Either way, it's been causing controversy since its existence was first proposed, and that is mainly because no study so far can answer the big question: does it really exist? If discovered, Planet 9 would rank as the fifth largest planet in our solar system, with a mass 10 times that of Earth. It's also theorized to be gaseous, like Uranus. The initial study on Planet 9, dating back to 2016, suggests that this colossal new planet orbits the Sun 29 times farther out than Neptune, which sits at about 2.8 billion miles. As a result, the Planet 9 would take between 10,000 and 20,000 years to complete a single orbit around the Sun. If confirmed, this yet-to-be-understood world would dominate a region larger than any other known planet in our cosmic neighborhood. These are all intriguing hypotheses, but without a single piece of evidence or observation to back them up. Before dismissing this as a wild guess, it is important to note that these researchers relied on complex mathematical modeling and computer simulations to speculate about the planet's characteristics, because that's what they do. The hypothetical presence of this planet would explain various mysterious features located beyond Neptune. We are specifically talking about the Kuiper Belt, a huge donut-shaped region filled with icy debris left over from the formation of the solar system, including comets and dwarf planets like Pluto. What happens is that the 6 farthest objects in the Kuiper Belt exhibit elliptical orbits that are all oriented in a similar direction within physical space and tilted approximately 30 degrees downward relative to the orbital plane of our 8 known planets. What's strange here is that, despite their distinct orbital velocities around the solar system, they maintain this alignment. The likelihood of such alignment occurring randomly is extremely low, around 0.007%. So, here comes Planet 9, a hypothetical massive celestial body that offers a plausible explanation for this strange phenomenon, potentially exerting gravitational influence to shape these orbits. The initial theory didn't hold up for long, facing accusations of observational bias and calculation errors. Then, in 2017, another study popped up, sparking back the idea that maybe Planet 9 is out there after all. This time, Spanish astronomers tried a novel approach, focusing on observing extreme trans-Neptunian objects. These celestial bodies orbit the Sun in highly stretched elliptical paths, with average distances exceeding 13 billion miles. The research suggests that the distances between these objects' nodes and the Sun might provide clues to Planet 9's location. You see, these nodes are the points where a celestial body's orbit intersects the solar system's plane. When these objects reach these points, they're more likely to interact with other solar system bodies, potentially causing significant changes in their orbits or even collisions. So, if the trajectory of these extreme trans-Neptunian objects remains stable, everything's fine. But if it's not, well, that's a sign that something else, something big, is messing with their path. And that's exactly what the research found. There is something unseen out there, throwing these objects off course. And that something could be a planet, chilling at a distance between 300 to 400 times farther from the Sun than Earth. To this day, the study of the extreme trans-Neptunian objects is the strongest evidence we've got for Planet 9's existence. And if you're still not convinced by this theory, know that strange motions like these have led to planetary discoveries before. Neptune, for instance, was spotted because Uranus's motion didn't quite agree with the predictions of Newtonian gravity. But the deflection of its orbit could be explained if it was caused by a pull of an undiscovered planet. And just like that, we discovered Neptune. Now, the year is 2021, and there's all this buzz about Planet 9 again. After correcting some old guesses, studies are now leaning towards the idea that this mystery world follows an epic loop around the Sun every 7,000 years. That is massive news, because it means this planet might be closer than we ever thought, making it easier for our telescopes to spot it. The paper also suggests there is a whopping 99% chance that the funky orbits of these distant objects are all because of this unseen planet, not just some cosmic coincidence. Now, the odds of this whole situation being a fluke are down to a 1 in 250 chance, which is much better than the 1 in 10,000 chance back in 2016. All these optimistic numbers have brought us to where we are today, keeping our hopes and working on better equipment to continue the mission of spotting Planet 9. As mentioned earlier, researchers in Hawaii created some kind of treasure map utilizing the Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System to eliminate 78% of its locations. This is great news, considering how challenging it is to find a planet-sized needle in a cosmic haystack. But unfortunately, Planet 9's presence remains a ghost in the dark outer reaches of our solar system. Enthusiasts are still convinced of its existence and believe it is only a matter of time before we celebrate the discovery of Earth's new cosmic cousin. They're putting their hopes on the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, which is currently under construction in Chile and is scheduled to begin science operations in late 2025. Over the course of 10 years, this observatory will scan the entire southern hemisphere sky every few nights with a 27-foot, fast-moving telescope equipped with the largest digital camera in the world. The idea is to catalog everything in the solar system, reaching out to and beyond Neptune, and tracking the movements of millions of celestial objects, including space junk, asteroids, comets, and stars. If Planet 9 is indeed out there, this next-generation telescope could be the one to find it. The existence of this mysterious planet is far from being universally accepted in the scientific community. That is simply because Planet 9 isn't the only explanation for the strange phenomenon occurring beyond Neptune. One theory suggests that a group of distant objects, such as dwarf planets, comets, and moons, might be collectively influencing the orbits of the extreme trans-Neptunian objects. Others believe that a black hole is behind all this. These compressed masses are some of the densest objects in the universe, potentially capable of affecting the orbits of other masses, like how this supposed ghost planet 9 is believed to be doing. Another bold perspective suggests that our current understanding of the laws of gravity is flawed, actually incomplete. This theory, known as modified Newtonian dynamics, proposes that these distant icy objects exhibit strange behavior not due to influence from another planet, but rather because the immense gravitational field of the Milky Way is influencing them. However, even supporters of this theory acknowledge that it is too early to draw firm conclusions, and much more extensive research is still required. While we continue our relentless hunt for Planet 9, some astronomers have taken it a step further, suggesting the existence of a hypothetical Planet 10. This world has a mass and size like that of Mars or Earth and is located on the edges of the Kuiper Belt. But the thing is, if this alleged Planet 10 is indeed as small as scientists believe, it might not have enough gravity to clear its orbit of debris. And that is pretty similar to what happens with Pluto, being one of the reasons why it got into trouble back in 2006. So yeah, it's better not to get too excited. This supposed Planet 10 might end up classified as another dwarf planet. Now, if Earth were the size of a nickel, Neptune would be about as big as a baseball. That's impressive, but it's nothing compared to the giant ninth planet that might be hiding out there. Now, our Planet 9's discovery saga might have finally come to an end. Turns out, the problem wasn't where we were looking, but how. And researchers might have just made the biggest solar system discovery in decades. You see, the idea of finding a planet beyond Neptune has been around for years now. I know, back in school, you probably learned that the ninth planet was Pluto. But forget about Pluto. It's been demoted to a less fancy category since 2006. What I'm talking about is the Planet 9, a hypothetical giant planet that could be our cosmic neighbor. We've never actually seen it, but scientists are pretty sure it's out there somewhere, hiding in the outer solar system. To explain why they think that, we need a sheet of paper. Hey, here's one. We place a coin on it, and suddenly, it starts to move. Unless we're talking about some kind of superpower, there's no way this coin is moving on its own, right? So, you figure someone must be on the other side, holding a magnet and moving it around. You can't see the magnet, but it explains why the coin is moving. That's kind of what's happening with Planet 9. We can't see it, we can't prove it, yet, but its existence could explain the strange movements we see out there in space. For example, the planets in our solar system orbit on a flat plane that's tilted about 6 degrees relative to the Sun. But why 6 degrees? Well, no one really knows for sure. Some scientists think those orbits might be slightly tilted because of the pull of a ninth planet. Its existence could also explain the unusual paths of smaller objects in the distant Kuiper Belt, a region full of icy debris that stretches far beyond Neptune's orbit. Back in 2016, researchers from Caltech published a study about Planet 9. They suggested it could have a mass about 10 times that of Earth and follow a highly elongated path. That's a scientific way of saying it takes forever to make one trip around the Sun. Because of that, it would be located in the outer solar system, far, far away. It would orbit the Sun about 20 to 30 times farther out than our most distant planet, Neptune. According to scientists, Planet 9 would take up to 20,000 Earth years to complete just one full orbit around the Sun. Since it's crazy far out there, it's almost impossible to see it. So, as cool as this hypothesis sounds, we've never found solid evidence that Planet 9 actually exists. But we might be pretty close. In May 2025, a team at National Tsinghua University might have made one of the most exciting solar system discoveries ever. Alright, so there's a hypothesis that Planet 9 hasn't been discovered yet because we haven't been using the right method. This new study raises an interesting question. What if Planet 9 actually looks brighter in infrared light than it does in visible light? Let me explain. Scientists have been trying to spot Planet 9 by its reflected light. But here's the problem. To spot it in visible wavelengths, sunlight would have to travel all the way out to Planet 9, bounce off its surface, and then travel all the way back to Earth. If a Neptune-sized planet were about 10 times farther away than Neptune, it would look about 10,000 times fainter. But a planet's own thermal radiation, its heat, only has to make a one-way trip. So in infrared light, Planet 9 would only be about 100 times fainter. That's why it makes more sense to look for it using space-based infrared telescopes. And that's the idea behind this new study. The team started digging through archives, searching for old infrared sky survey data, and they pulled it from two main sources. First, IRIS, a satellite launched in the 80s that scanned the sky for almost a year. Then, the Japanese satellite Akari, another infrared observatory that operated between 2006 and 2011. So basically, they compared objects that showed up in IRIS database and noticed which ones had moved by the time Akari took its observations. And by doing that, the researchers found something incredible, an object that might just be our long-lost ninth planet. Because if something moves, it could be a planet orbiting the Sun, right? And yeah, they did find some celestial objects showing tiny movements. But before jumping to conclusions, they had to rule out the parallax effect. And that's something really important when we're talking about solar system discoveries. To explain it, I need you to do something. Hold one finger in front of your face. Close one eye, and now switch. Your finger seems to move a tiny bit, right? That's because you're looking at it from a slightly different angle, from one eyeball to the other. The same thing happens when we look out into space from Earth. Since our planet orbits the Sun, our view of very distant objects shifts just a little. That effect is called parallax. My point is, because of this effect, Planet 9 would appear to move across the sky as Earth goes around the Sun. On any given day, it might seem to be in one spot, but 6 months later, when Earth is on the opposite side of the Sun, it would look like it shifted. 6 months after that, it would seem to move back again. Scientists had to account for parallax. Actually, they had to remove its effects. So the team looked at images of the sky taken on the same date every year. Because on that same date, Earth is always in the same spot in its orbit. That means if Planet 9 is real, it would show up in the same place in those images every year. No fake wiggle from parallax, just its real position. This careful search led them to a single object, a tiny dot in the infrared data. This strange little spot had moved slightly along its orbit around the Sun over the 23 years between Iris and Akari. Wait, could that be it? Did astronomers just confirm a hidden planet? Well, maybe. But don't get too excited. The data we have on its motion over that time is not enough to figure out its full orbit. So, for now, we still can't say for sure if this mysterious object is really Planet 9. It's definitely a strong candidate, though. Based on how bright the object appears, the team estimates it could be pretty massive, and that came as a big surprise. You see, previous NASA research ruled out any Jupiter-sized or Saturn-sized planets hiding out there, but a smaller world would have gone undetected. So the scientists were looking for something just a bit bigger than Earth. But it turns out this mysterious planet might be more massive than Neptune. Now that they've discovered Planet 9, supposedly at least, the plan is to keep tracking it and collecting new data. But don't think the road ahead will be easy. Because since the Akari satellite spotted it for the first time, that object didn't just sit still. It's been moving slowly through space ever since. So now scientists need to use regular telescopes on Earth to look for it again. And here's the tricky part. They're not exactly sure where it moved to, so they have to search a pretty big patch of the sky. And so far, no matching object has been found. Whether this really turns out to be the Planet 9 discovery or not, only time will tell. For now, its existence is still up for debate. But with powerful new technology on the way, like NASA's Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, astronomers are more determined than ever to uncover the truth. And if Planet 9 really is out there, hiding in the cold, dark edges of our solar system, it's running out of places to hide.
Look at this giant donut-shaped region far away from Earth, beyond the orbit of Neptune. We're talking about a distance of more than 2.5 billion miles. It's the Kuiper Belt, and something eerie and bizarre is happening there. dwarf planets and other small objects dwelling there refuse to cluster together. Instead, they follow particular orbits, which is weird. The reason might be a large, mysterious planet hiding beyond Pluto. Its gravity might be messing up the orbits of those Kuiper space bodies. Hear me out. Our solar system is made up of the Sun and everything that goes around it because of the star's strong gravity. This includes the 8 main planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. There are also smaller things like moons, asteroids, and Pluto. For a long time, people thought Pluto was the 9th planet, but when it was reclassified as a dwarf planet, scientists started looking for a new Planet X. Did they have a thing about odd numbers or what? And guess what? Some really think there might be a big, icy planet hiding far, far away beyond Neptune. This mystery planet is often called Planet 9. Now, Planet 9 hasn't been seen yet, but scientists think it might be out there because of some tiny, faraway space rocks called etnos that move following bizarre, confusing paths. These paths seem to be grouped together and tilted in a way that doesn't happen by chance. This could mean there's a hidden planet pulling them into place with its gravity. If Planet 9 is real, it might be 5 to 10 times heavier than Earth. It would also be super far away, hundreds of times farther from the Sun than Earth is. Over the years, scientists have guessed different distances for its orbit, and the newest guess in 2025 says it could be about 290 times farther from the Sun than Earth. There are some cool ideas about where Planet 9 came from. It might have started as a big planet that Jupiter once kicked out of the inner solar system, or it might have come from another star or even wandered around space on its own before getting caught by the Sun's gravity. Even though scientists have looked really hard using powerful telescopes, no one has actually seen Planet 9 yet, and so far, its existence is still just a theory. But recently, a group of researchers tried something clever. They used data from 2 special space surveys called ERAS and ACARI. These 2 looked at the sky in invisible light, far infrared, about 23 years apart, which is helpful because Planet 9 is supposed to move very slowly. The team focused on a special list from ACARI, which is better at finding faint, moving things in space. They guessed how bright Planet 9 might be and how fast it might move based on how big, far away, and cold it could be. Then they looked for matching blips in the sky that were seen by both ERAS and ACARI, but not in the exact same spot. That's because a real planet would have moved a little over 23 years, and they indeed found 13 possible matches that could be Planet 9. Their estimations were based on how far away the object seemed to be, 500 to 700 times farther from the Sun than Earth, and how heavy it might be, which is 7 to 17 times Earth's mass. After looking very carefully at all the images, they narrowed it down to one really good candidate. The 2 detections weren't in the same spot in both surveys, and the way they appeared in the ACARI map matched what you'd expect from a slow-moving object. It showed up on one date and wasn't there 6 months earlier, but of course, there was a catch. Apparently, the old data isn't good enough to figure out the exact path of the potential planet. So, the team wants to do new follow-up observations using a special camera called DCAM, which is really good at spotting faint, moving objects. That way, they can find out if this candidate is really Planet 9. Additionally, it can help us learn more about how our solar system works and how it formed. If Planet 9 is ever discovered, it would totally change the way we understand our solar system. It could explain why some far-out space rocks in the Kuiper belt tilt weirdly. The thing is, most planets go around the Sun in a flat-ish circle, but those faraway objects are tilted about 20 degrees. Planet 9 might be the reason why. Next, we'd probably find out why those tilted objects seem to point the same way. Their orbits are grouped together in one direction. A big hidden planet's gravity could be hurting them like sheep. There are also some strange tilted objects super far away. They don't make sense unless something big, like Planet 9, is tugging on them. A few space rocks orbit the Sun backward between the big planets, which is kinda the wrong way. That's super weird unless something big is messing with them. Some far-out Kuiper Belt objects keep crossing Neptune's path and haven't been flung away. That's because Planet 9 might be helping keep their orbits stable over a long time. Another cool thing is that if Planet 9 existed, it would be a super-Earth, a kind of planet we see a lot around other stars, but we don't have in our solar system yet. So finding one here would make our solar system more like the others out there. Throughout history, people have been wondering if there could be hidden planets far beyond Neptune, even before Pluto was found. Back in 1880, a guy named George Forbes guessed there might be 2 unknown planets way out there, one about 100 times farther from the Sun than Earth, and the other about 300 times farther. He thought these mystery planets might be pulling on some comets and changing their orbits, kind of like how Jupiter does with the comets near it. In 2004, scientists found a weird little world called Sedna. It had a strange path around the Sun that didn't seem to be affected by any of the known planets. Its closest point to the Sun, called perihelion, is way too far for Neptune to be the reason. This made some scientists wonder if Sedna got pushed into its path by a hidden planet, maybe even something as big as Earth or bigger. Others thought maybe it was a star that flew by a long time ago, or another star that formed near ours. Then, in 2014, another odd object was discovered. It had a very similar orbit to Sedna, which made people even more suspicious that there could be something big out there messing with their paths. This kicked off a new round of the Planet X or Planet 9 hunt. At a meeting in 2012, a scientist named Rodney Gomez said that maybe there was a big, hidden planet around 1,500 times farther from the Sun than Earth. He thought it could explain the orbits of other odd objects, like some far-out comets and centaurs, small bodies that wander among the giant planets. At that time, those who supported the Planet 9 theory believed that if it existed, it would move around the Sun in a huge, stretched-out circle called an elliptical orbit. It would be about 400 to 800 times farther from the Sun than Earth is, about 13 to 26 times farther than Neptune. If it really had that kind of orbit, it would take around 10,000 to 20,000 years to go around the Sun just once. Plus, if it indeed orbited the Sun, it wouldn't follow the same flat path as the other planets. Its path would be tilted by about 15 degrees to 25 degrees. The farthest point in its orbit, called aphelion, would be in the direction of the Taurus constellation. As for the closest point, it would point towards Serpens, Ophiuchus, or Libra. As for the composition of Planet 9, it would probably be a lot like Uranus or Neptune. It would have a thick atmosphere made of hydrogen and helium, and it would be super cold, negative 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Its core would be made of iron, and its middle layer would be full of rock and water ice. At the same time, if the planet was smaller and denser, then it might be more like Earth, with a rocky surface instead of a gassy one. According to a scientist named Mike Brown, if Planet 9 was real, a space probe would reach it in about 20 years if we used a powerful slingshot path around the Sun.
For thousands of years, people knew only about the planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which they could see using simple telescopes, or even by the naked eye if conditions were good. But in the late 18th century, a famous astronomer named Sir William Herschel discovered a new planet that was icy blue in color. At first, people thought it was a star, but later they realized it was a planet. Today, we know it as Uranus, a planet that's more than 19 times farther away from the Sun than Earth. It's so far away that it takes Uranus 84 years to complete one trip around the Sun. This astronomer also discovered many other interesting things in space, like double stars and nebulae. In the mid-1800s, scientists noticed something pulled Uranus and strangely tugged its orbit. They thought there must be another planet out there, and they used math to predict where it would be. Finally, in 1846, they found Neptune using a telescope. It was too faint to see with the naked eye because it was too far away from the sun. It was all so exciting. Who knows how many other planets could be there, lurking in the darkness of our solar system? Back in the mid-1800s, astronomers noticed something unusual was happening in the sky. A small rocky planet named Mercury was behaving strangely. It didn't follow the predictable orbit that was expected of it. One of the astronomers was a brilliant French scientist named Urbain Le Verrier. He came up with a theory that there could be another planet in our solar system no one had yet discovered. It would be located somewhere between Mercury and the Sun. This hypothetical planet, which he named Vulcan after the Roman god of fire, would have an incredibly hot surface, and it could be a potential explanation for Mercury's strange behavior. He never surely claimed Vulcan was really the one thing disturbing the orbit of Mercury. But, excited by the possibility of discovering a new planet, astronomers all over the world took the idea of Vulcan. For a planet that didn't exist, people committed to developing ideas and getting information about it. Some scientists didn't think it was likely that they had missed another planet as big as Mercury. It would have been hard not to see it by then. But there was a tiny chance of a smaller planet existing inside Mercury's orbit that was too close to the Sun, so no one could see it. One theory said it was about 13 million miles away from the Sun. Mercury is the planet with the most eccentric orbit in our solar system, but the closest point it gets to the Sun is about 28.5 million miles. This means Vulcan would be under half of that distance. The theory moved on, saying that if Vulcan existed, it would orbit the Sun every 19 days and 18 hours, and its path would be tilted about 12 degrees relative to the path of other planets in our solar system. Vulcan's position at its furthest point from the Sun would still be too close to the Sun to be seen with the naked eye, even during twilight. The only chance of seeing Vulcan would be during a solar eclipse, or when it passed in front of the Sun, which, as the theory said, would be 2 to 4 times a year. They had a theory that this mysterious planet was so close to the Sun that it could only be seen during a total solar eclipse when the moon blocked out the Sun's blinding glare. So, every time there was an eclipse, scientists would peer at the Sun, hoping to catch a glimpse of Vulcan. They were trying really hard, but no matter what, they couldn't find this mysterious planet. Some astronomers claimed to have spotted it during eclipses, but no one could ever confirm or find evidence for that. The theory of Vulcan was left waiting for some better times. Einstein had a different idea. You know about his theory of general relativity, right? That's where he claimed gravity wasn't some sort of natural force, but a result of space-time curved because of the presence of giant space objects, like planets and stars. Planets circle around the Sun in their usual orbit because space-time is curved. That means the planets are kind of falling towards the central star of our solar system. And Einstein tried to explain Mercury's unusual orbit using his own theory of relativity. Unlike the other planets in our solar system, Mercury's orbit wasn't that circular. Instead, it seemed to wobble slightly, as if there was an invisible force pulling it away. Einstein said this could be happening because the massive gravity of our Sun was actually curving the fabric of space-time around it. He claimed it's possible this changed Mercury's orbit a little bit. It took the scientific community a while to test this theory, but it eventually seemed like the most plausible explanation. Even though Einstein's theory gave us a more elegant explanation for Mercury's strange orbit, some scientists were still holding out hope for Vulcan. It was especially hard to let go of the idea of Vulcan because Mercury is also the planet that's really hard to see from where we're standing. But later, more and more scientists started accepting Einstein's theory above their imagination. And they would observe a total solar eclipse specifically to test Einstein's theory of relativity, not because of Vulcan. And Vulcan is not the only hypothetical planet everyone was talking about. In the newer age, some believe there could be a mysterious planet lurking in the outer part of our solar system. But this one is more likely to exist. No one has seen it directly yet, but computer simulations show this so-called Planet 9, or Planet X, is probably somewhere there beyond Neptune. Neptune and Planet X could be similar in size. Planet X could be 10 times more massive than Earth and circles around our Sun in an elongated shape, which is on average 20 times farther from the Sun than Neptune. A year there may last between 10,000 to 20,000 Earth years. By comparison, a year on Neptune lasts 165 Earth years. Something this big moving out there beyond Neptune could explain the unusual orbits of smaller objects in the Kuiper Belt. The Kuiper Belt is the area of our solar system beyond Neptune and where it orbits. And there are most likely many asteroids, comets, and some other smaller bodies there, mostly made of ice. There was another hypothetical planet called Nibiru. Remember those rumors that the world could end back in 2012? One of the popular scenarios was Nibiru, which some claimed would hit our home planet at the end of the year. Of course, nothing happened. We're still here, all set and good, but the idea of Nibiru seemed interesting. Stories started in the 1970s when a man named Zecharia Sitchin mentioned Nibiru in his book, The 12th Planet, claiming it orbits the Sun every 3,600 years. But there's no chance a planet with such an eccentric orbit wouldn't disrupt other planets in our solar system with its gravity. And if it was really coming that close to Earth in 2012, we were supposed to be able to see it with the naked eye. Some simple calculations showed Nibiru would have been nearly as bright as Mars at its dimmest and brighter than the faintest stars you see from a city. Oh well, maybe we'll have more luck in the next 3,500 and something years. In 2011, a comet named Elenin appeared that many people thought could be Nibiru. But when you're looking at comets and planets through a telescope, you see they appear differently. A comet has a coma, which is a gas atmosphere, together with a tail, something a planet doesn't have. Plus, this comet didn't slam into the Earth. It came too close to our Sun and fell apart. The leftover pieces will continue moving on their way to the outer solar system for the next 12,000 years.
A new super-Earth has been spotted by astronomers, and it's quite intriguing. This planet, called TOI 715b, is about 1.5 the size of Earth, which is why it's called the super-Earth. It's also relatively close to us in space terms, only 137 light-years away. For comparison, most exoplanets are hundreds of light-years away, and all the interesting stuff, like black holes and nebulas, are usually more than thousands of light-years away from us. So, could it be habitable? The habitable zone is an estimate of where a planet might have the right conditions for liquid water. This is what we call some distance from the star, where the temperatures on the planet should be okay-ish, and water should stay liquid on its surface. It's not super precise because it depends on a bunch of factors like the type of star, how reflective the planet is, its size, and so on. Also, just being in this zone isn't enough for water to actually be there. The planet also needs the right kind of atmosphere and a few other things. So, we invented a stricter definition in 2014, the conservative habitable zone. It's a more precise term defining the best candidates that have liquid water. Otherwise, we get too many potentially habitable planets that are not actually habitable at all. The CHZ is based on how much energy a planet gets from its star compared to Earth. If a rocky planet gets between 40 to 85%, it's considered to be in the CHZ, no matter how far away it is from its star. These planets have a higher chance of being habitable. And yes, TOI 715b is located there. This super-Earth orbits the M-type star, also called red dwarf. It's a star that's much smaller and cooler than our Sun, about a quarter of the Sun's size and mass. But if the planet is located in the habitable zone, it's actually a better option for life. Red dwarfs live much longer than our Sun, a yellow dwarf. This also means that they have more time to form little creatures on their planets. And this red dwarf really is older than our star. Our Sun is 4.6 billion years old, and this star is 6.6 billion years old, give or take a few hundred million. It doesn't have much magnetic activity, so it's not dangerous. It doesn't flare up like younger red dwarfs. These flares can be super strong and might even hurt planets by taking away their atmospheres. Although some planets around it do have thinner atmospheres, it seems like this red dwarf has already gone all out. These red dwarfs are where we're looking for planets that could support life right now. Our super-Earth is really close to its star, zooming around it in just 19 days. Since the star is small and the planet is so close, the planet passing in front of its star happens a lot and looks really clear. This makes it easy for telescopes like the James Webb to study its atmosphere without needing too much time. Now, speaking of the James Webb Space Telescope, it's bringing us into a new era of understanding distant planets beyond our solar system. Imagine being able to see what gases make up the air on a planet millions of light years away. James Webb will help us to find worlds that could support life. Right now, it's trying to figure out whether TOI 715b has an atmosphere. If it does, its atmosphere might be easier to spot compared to a planet that's drier and denser. And then we might get even more height because it would look like a good place for life. On top of all that, there might be another planet in this system, also in the habitable zone. We're not sure whether it's really there, it's just a candidate with a crazy name. But if it turns out to be real, it would be about the size of Earth. Also, it would be the smallest planet in the habitable zone ever spotted by the TESS telescope. Now, another cool thing about TOI 715b is that it cannot just have water on it, but be an entire water world. An ocean planet is a type of planet that has an ocean covering its surface or has subsurface oceans. They might not have much dry land because the water can cover everything. Sometimes the entire planet can be covered in other liquids, like lava or ammonia. When it comes to planets outside our solar system, we can't see surface water directly with our current technology. Instead, scientists look for water vapor in the atmosphere as a hint there might be liquid water below. And of course, we wonder if these planets can have life, hopefully not in the form of Leviathan-like monsters. Our models show that planets with oceans might be pretty common in our galaxy. This means there could be lots of ocean worlds out there waiting to be discovered. But the most important part about TOI 715b is that it's in the so-called small planet radius gap. If we give the planets a lineup, there will be those that are bigger and smaller than Earth. But there's a sudden gap in planets that are about from 1.5 to 2 times bigger than ours. Where are they? This gap is interesting to scientists because it tells us something about how planets form and change over time. It's not that planets don't form in this size range. They actually start off larger and then lose some of their mass, like a balloon gradually deflating. Perhaps it happens because of how they orbit their stars, with stars blowing away some of their mass as they dance around it, as our Sun does with gas from comet tails. This gap holds a lot of mystery, and planets like our new super-Earth are clues that could help us unravel it. We aren't sure whether it exists around red dwarfs. Maybe it's a gap in how dense these planets are rather than in their actual size. So studying our discovered planet is even more interesting. It'll help us learn more about distant stars and their planets. Now, I mentioned TESS a while back. NASA's TESS, Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, has been in space for 6 years now and has been incredibly successful. NASA launched TESS because we already found over 5,000 planets orbiting other stars, mainly thanks to the Kepler telescope. But Kepler mostly found large planets, not necessarily like Earth. we decided to focus tests on finding smaller Earth-like planets around nearby bright stars, making them easier to study with future telescopes. Here's how it works. The camera observes stars and looks for changes in their brightness. If the brightness suddenly drops for a while and then gets back, it could mean there is a planet passing in front of it. But stars can dim for other reasons too. For example, flaring up or having dark spots on their surface, which is why we need to be careful with this data. TESS shows us the size and orbit of these planets. Then ground telescopes help determine their mass. With these three parameters, we can figure out what the planets are made of and if they're rocky like Earth or gassy like Jupiter. Yeah, you want to avoid Jupiter after taco night. One example of TESS's discoveries was the TOI 700 system. There, it discovered its first ever Earth-like planet, TOI 700d. This exoplanet also orbited a red dwarf, and it's even closer to us, about 100 light-years away. Unfortunately, it's unlikely to be habitable because the temperatures there are crazy. Another big discovery was made in the AU microscopy system. TESS discovered a planet about 4 times the size of Earth and another nearly 3 times Earth's size. This system has become a key area for studying how stars and planets form and change over time. TESS has also spotted a variety of other exciting finds, including supernova, hot worlds, and so on. And as it enters its 6th year, we can only expect more exciting findings to come.
Have you heard about Planet 9? No, not Pluto. We're talking about something lurking on the outskirts of the solar system. A mysterious planet that exists in our solar system that we haven't yet discovered. We've been looking for it for years, but finally, it seems like scientists found a key to solve this mystery. Planet 9 is a hypothetical planet. Astronomers have been on the hunt for it for quite some time now. But it's so elusive that they've only been able to piece together a few details about its potential characteristics. One thing we do know is that Planet 9 has to be a massive world, possibly up to 10 times the mass of Earth. That's one big planet. It's also thought to be a distant wanderer, hanging out somewhere between Neptune and Pluto. Some scientists think that Planet 9 might actually be a mini Neptune, with a thick, gaseous atmosphere and a rocky core. Others speculate that it could be an icy world with a solid, frozen surface and a thick layer of hydrogen and helium gas. Of course, since we haven't actually found Planet 9 yet, we can't say for sure what it's like. We're not even sure that it even exists. Some say it's just a myth, like the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny, but others are convinced that it's out there somewhere. And at the end of the day, we're not entirely sure if Planet 9 is even a planet. It might be a special kind of black hole or made entirely of dark matter. The search for Planet 9 began in the early 21st century when a group of astronomers realized that something wasn't quite right with the outer reaches of our solar system. They noticed that some distant objects, known as trans-Neptunian objects, were behaving in unexpected ways. Trans-Neptunian objects, or TNOs, are like the cosmic version of those items in the back of your fridge that you forgot about for years. They're small, icy bodies that hang out in the Kuiper Belt, beyond Neptune. So, scientists noticed that these guys started behaving weirdly. At first, they thought it might be a fluke. But as they dug deeper, they began to suspect that there was a 9th planet lurking out there. Why haven't we discovered it yet, you ask? Well, it may be because of Planet 9's weird orbit. All the other 8 planets orbit the Sun in roughly the same plane, which is like a flat disk. However, our hypothetical friend's orbit is different. It might be tilted and move in a different direction compared to the other planets. Its orbit might also be stretched out like an oval, rather than being nearly circular like usual. Because of this, Planet 9 might spend most of its time far from the Sun, like a true introvert. It only comes relatively close to the inner solar system every few thousand years. This would make it super faint and hard to spot, so the only way we may discover it is by studying the gravitational effects it has on our solar system. And this isn't the first time astronomers have gone looking for a new planet. Back in the 19th century, there was a similar hunt for a hypothetical Planet X. But this time, they were armed with much better technology and a much better sense of humor. They began calling their elusive quarry Planet 9, which was much catchier than Planet X. They even came up with a hashtag for the search, Pluto Lives. It was a reference to the fact that Pluto had been kicked from the planet gang and some astronomers were eager to find a new planet to take its place. But the search for Planet 9 has been no easy task. It's like trying to find a lost sock in the laundry basket the size of a football stadium. It's so far away and so faint that even the most powerful telescopes can't see it. Instead, astronomers have had to rely on indirect evidence, like the strange orbits of TNOs, to try to figure out where it might be. Some scientists have even supposed that it might be a wandering rogue planet, which would explain why it's so hard to find. But they haven't given up hope. Till this day, they're scouring the skies using all sorts of high-tech telescopes and fancy algorithms to try and spot this elusive planet. And fear not, dear curious human, because it looks like after so many years of research, we may have finally found the key to solve this mystery. Astronomer Man Ho Chan from Hong Kong has a theory. He believes that Planet 9 could have a bevy of moons. That's right, not only is it a giant planet hiding out in the depths of space, but it's also a bit of a hoarder. Moons are all the rage in the outer solar system. In fact, almost every planet here has at least one moon, except for Mercury and Venus. Earth has just one, which is kind of sad if you think about it. Even non-planetary bodies like Pluto have at least a couple of moons. A bit unfair, isn't it? Anyway, taking this into account, let's go moon picking with Planet 9. The region between the rock-filled Kuiper Belt and the rock-filled Oort cloud, where this planet is predicted to be, should be ripe for the picking. Chan made some calculations and determined that it would be stranger if the elusive planet didn't have any satellites. According to his calculations, an object the mass of Planet 9 should capture at least 20 TNOs as large as almost 90 miles across. It's like our mysterious planet is playing cosmic Pokemon with these guys. So, what if Planet 9 has moons? Would that make any difference? Kinda, yes. They could give us some indirect clues to finally locate this mysterious planet. Now, you might be thinking, how in the cosmos can we possibly spot these teeny tiny moons? It's not like they're going to wave a giant flag or blast some Beyoncé tunes to get our attention. Well, apparently the key lies in something called tidal heating. Tidal heating might sound like a new workout trend, but it's a real scientific phenomenon. It happens when two celestial bodies are close together. You see, tides aren't just about the rise and fall of the ocean, they're also the result of gravity pulling unevenly on a planet or moon. When a planet and a moon are close enough to each other, their gravity pulls on each other, creating a bit of a football shape. And as these celestial bodies move around each other, they shift shape and generate friction inside, which produces heat. Wow, who knew that Planet 9 could have a workout routine? Perhaps we should start calling it Gym Planet instead. Anyway, if Planet 9 has any moons, the gravitational pull from these moons would cause it to change shape constantly, generating heat in the process. And we might be able to detect this mysterious planet through the heat produced by those moons, even though it gives off no other signals. Now, before you get too excited, finding them won't be a walk in the park. They're incredibly small and would be very far away from us. But hey, nothing worth discovering ever came easy, right? Scientists are optimistic that with the right technology, they can spot this telltale sign. It will be easier for us to spot them with fancy instruments like modern telescopes. Talk about cool friends to have, right? Sure, the process of finding it may be difficult and time-consuming, but the potential payoff is huge. Finding this planet could explain a lot of the strange behavior observed in TNOs, the Kuiper Belt, and beyond. As we've already mentioned, they've been acting super weird lately, tilting and aligning in suspicious ways. If this planet doesn't actually exist, we have yet to explain what is the reason for this strange behavior. In any case, the search for Planet 9 is one of the most exciting and intriguing quests in modern astronomy. It's like a cosmic scavenger hunt, and everyone's invited to join in on the fun. So, grab your telescopes and let's go planet hunting. Who knows, maybe we'll find it sooner than we think.
Shh! The planets and the moons in our solar system are hiding secrets that could change our knowledge of Earth itself. Uranus stores heat we didn't expect. Mercury has been shrinking and cracking for billions of years. Jupiter's moon, Io, emits giant columns of volcanic plumes. These cosmic mysteries hint at forces and processes that could, one day, ripple through the solar system and even affect life here on our own planet. Back in 1986, Voyager 2 flew by Uranus and confused everybody. The readings showed the planet wasn't giving off any extra heat. This made it look totally different from the other giant planets in the solar system. That was strange because Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune all release way more heat than they take in from the Sun. Fast forward a few decades, and two independent research teams went back through a mountain of observations. What they found changes the story. Uranus does give off more heat than it receives. About 12.5% more to be exact. The two studies show that Uranus is still slowly releasing leftover heat from its early days. That detail matters greatly because it helps scientists piece together the planet's origins and how it's changed over time. As for Voyager 2's odd readings, they now make more sense too. The flyby happened when the Sun was unusually active, which made Uranus act weird. So those early numbers likely didn't reflect its normal state. Even so, Uranus still stands out. Jupiter pushes out 113% more heat. Saturn gives off 139% more, and Neptune tops them all at 162%. And since Neptune is farther away from the Sun, distance isn't the reason Uranus is cooler. Something unique is happening deep inside. Maybe the planet's structure is different, or maybe its past somehow shaped it in another way. Another weird space body in our solar system is Jupiter's moon Io. Oh, by the way, did you know that Io has a brother moon named EIE? So, through a telescope looking at Jupiter, you can sometimes see them. EIE, Io. Right next to Old MacDonald. Hey, I thought it was funny. Anyway, back in 1979, Voyager 1 zipped past Io and saw something jaw-dropping. Giant volcanic plumes were blasting straight into space. It was the first time humans had ever seen active volcanism beyond Earth. Io looked wild, and ever since then, scientists have been trying to figure out what makes this little moon so ridiculously volcanic. For decades, one leading idea was that Io hid a global magma ocean just under its crust. That would explain why volcanoes are scattered pretty evenly all over the surface, as if they're feeding off the same underground reservoir of molten rock. NASA's Galileo spacecraft even seemed to back this up in the 1990s and early 2000s. Its magnetometer picked up a weird magnetic signal that looked like it came from a huge electrically conductive layer, basically liquid rock. By 2011, the consensus was that Io was sitting on a magma ocean several dozen miles thick. But now that theory has been flipped on its head. NASA's Juno spacecraft has been looping around Jupiter since 2016, and in late 2023 and early 2024, it made a couple of super close flybys of Io. The main goal was to figure out what was going on inside. Juno carries a super precise radio transponder that scientists use like a stethoscope. Io's gravity field tugs on the spacecraft ever so slightly, changing the radio signal. By mapping those tiny shifts, the team can see how mass is distributed inside Io. The verdict is there's no shallow magma ocean sloshing under the crust. Otherwise, Juno would have picked up way more distortion in Io's gravity field as Jupiter's tidal pull flexed the Moon. But the data showed nothing of the sort. This leaves planetary scientists with a big puzzle. If there's no magma ocean, what's powering the most volcanically active body in the solar system? Io's volcanism is likely driven by tidal heating, because Io's orbit is a little stretched out by the gravitational tugs of neighboring moons. Jupiter constantly squeezes and releases this little world. The crust can rise and fall by as much as 330 feet, and all that flexing creates frictional heat inside the moon. Tidal heating does make magma, but if it's not pulling into a giant ocean, maybe it's stored in smaller scattered reservoirs within the crust. On Earth, different magma chambers feed different styles of volcanoes, but since Io doesn't have plate tectonics, it probably doesn't have the same variety. The new results don't totally rule out a deep magma ocean buried way below the crust. But if that exists, it would be so dense and iron-rich that it wouldn't rise easily to the surface. At that point, it's hard to tell whether we'd even call it a magma ocean or just a molten core. Now, at the same time, Jupiter's moon Europa, for example, is also tidally heated. But in its case, the heat likely sustains a salty liquid water ocean beneath an icy shell. Saturn's moon Enceladus is another great case. The Cassini spacecraft not only found signs of a hidden ocean, but even flew through plumes of water erupting from its south pole. So why does tidal heating make water oceans on some moons, but not magma oceans on Io? The thing is, magma is lighter than solid rock, so it wants to rise and erupt quickly instead of sticking around in one giant pool. Water, on the other hand, is heavier than ice, so it sinks and collects into a stable ocean beneath the crust. That's why magma oceans are so hard to sustain, while water oceans are relatively easy. In any case, even though tidal heating may not be great at making magma oceans, it's excellent at making water oceans. And since water is the key ingredient for life, moons across the solar system, Europa, Enceladus, and maybe others too, could be hiding habitable environments beneath their icy crusts. Io might be a volcanic inferno, but it's helping scientists figure out where else we might actually find life in our solar system. Now, let's move closer to Earth and explore Mercury. Believe it or not, this planet and our favorite pastries have something in common. They both shrink as they cool. Mercury formed about 4.5 billion years ago, and ever since then, it's been slowly losing heat. As the planet cools, its rocky shell contracts, just like a cheesecake or cookie that cracks when it comes out of the oven. Mercury develops fractures in its crust. These show up as thrust faults, giant cracks that push up sections of the planet's surface to make room for its shrinking interior. By looking at how those faults have lifted up Mercury's terrain, scientists can figure out how much the planet has shrunk over time. But earlier estimates were all over the place, ranging anywhere from less than a mile to more than 4 miles of lost radius. That's a pretty big range. So figuring out a more precise number has been a long-standing puzzle. To tackle the problem, researchers tried a new way of measuring Mercury's shrinkage. The old method used the length and height of uplifted landforms, but the results shifted depending on how many faults you counted in the dataset. More faults, one answer. Fewer faults, a different answer. That inconsistency made things messy. The new method avoids that issue. Instead of relying on every single fault, it focuses on the biggest one in the set. It's like finding the biggest crack in a cookie and using it as a baseline to estimate how much the whole thing cooled and contracted. Now, to test this, the researchers ran their method on 3 separate datasets. One had 5,900 faults, another had 650 faults, and the last one had just 100. And no matter which dataset they used, the results stayed consistent. Mercury has likely shrunk by about 1.2 to 2.1 miles due to faulting alone. But the planet didn't just get smaller because of its cracks. Scientists added shrinkage from other cooling processes to their fault-based results and found that the planet has gotten up to 3.5 miles smaller since it first formed. These new numbers don't just show how much Mercury shrank, they also give clues about its thermal history. They tell us how fast it cooled, how its interior changed over time, and how its crust reacted to that cooling. And this method isn't just for Mercury either. Researchers think it could also be used to study tectonics on other planets, like Mars, which has faults on its surface too.
Some time ago, the James Webb Space Telescope spotted a super bizarre space object flying through our galaxy. First of all, it's not orbiting any star. It's a rogue object, just drifting through space on its own. Even better, this wandering thing apparently has a cake-like atmosphere, and examining it can be crucial in our future exoplanet research. Plus, it can help us understand how gas giants evolve over time, and what might happen to Jupiter in the future. You may object that Earth has a layered atmosphere too, with 5 major and several secondary layers. But on Earth, the air is mostly nitrogen and oxygen. As for other planets, they're different. Take Venus, for example, where the atmosphere is super thick and filled with sulfuric acid. There are exoplanets with water vapor clouds, or ones where the clouds are literally made of hot sand. But what about our rogue object? By the way, I have no clue why it got this reputation, but for some reason, scientists chose to call it SIMP. Ouch. Anyway, it seems to have its own unique combo, with cloud patches and weird chemical reactions happening high up. It is covered in clouds made of iron and magnesium, and its atmosphere has carbon-based chemicals floating around. Scientists have spotted auroras on it. Yep, like the northern lights we have on Earth, but way out in deep space. It's the very first time researchers have been able to do a sort of weather report on a rogue object like this. The next weirdness? The object doesn't really fit into any box. It's not a regular planet, because it doesn't orbit a star. But it's also smaller than a brown dwarf, which is something like a failed star. So it's something in between. Not quite a planet, not quite a star. And while it's not dangerous in the we're all doomed kind of way, scientists say rogue objects like this could actually mess things up pretty seriously if they wandered too close to a solar system. Their gravity might throw off the orbits of planets, which could lead to instability, or even space collisions. So yeah, while our rogue friend is not a threat right now, it might become one in the future. Now, this rogue object has some crazy stuff going on. First off, its day is only 2.4 hours long. Like, imagine the sun rising and setting in that time. That's real fast. It's also hanging out about 20 light-years away in the Carina Nebula, which isn't super far in space terms. Another thing that makes this guy special is the fact that it's the brightest free-floating object of its kind that we can see from the northern hemisphere. And since it's just drifting in space without a nearby star messing with our view, it's been directly photographed by telescopes, like NASA's Spitzer. That's actually super rare for stuff this faint and far. When scientists checked it out in infrared, aka heat vision, they noticed that the atmosphere of this rogue object was acting weird, like it kept changing, sometimes more heat, sometimes less. Something funky was going on, but what exactly? So, in July 2023, one team of scientists used the James Webb Space Telescope to dig deeper. They pointed it at SIMP and gathered a ton of data, around 6,000 measurements in just a few hours. First, they looked at shortwave radiation, which is kind of like high-energy heat, and then they did the same with longer waves a few hours later. They discovered that the brightness changed differently depending on the wavelength. Some parts of the atmosphere got brighter, some dimmer, and some didn't change at all. It was all over the place, but they noticed a pattern. All the changes fell into 3 groups. Each group had its own vibe, like its own little signature of what was going on in the atmosphere. And it turned out that the mysterious object wasn't just floating alone in space. It was super dynamic, with layers of clouds and gases doing their own thing. It could mean 3 different things were going on in the atmosphere. To figure out what exactly was behind all this, they built models of the rogue object's atmosphere. Apparently, the first group of curves likely came from low clouds made of iron. Yeah, iron, like actual metal clouds. The second group seemed to come from higher clouds made of this mineral called forsterite, which is basically a magnesium-rich crystal. And it looks like these cloud layers aren't smooth, they're patchy. That patchiness could explain why the light coming from them keeps changing so much. As for the third group of light patterns, they weren't coming from clouds at all. The light seemed to be coming from way above the clouds, from what they think are hotspots in the atmosphere. These hotspots are probably connected to radio auroras, kind of like Earth's northern lights, but happening in the radio part of the light spectrum instead of visible light. But even after all that modeling, there were still some mysteries left. Like the first group of curves was all over the place, more than they expected. So they think it might be because of carbon-based gases like carbon monoxide floating around. They might absorb certain types of light at random times. In any case, this is the first time we've actually seen this kind of atmospheric chaos directly. But the few hours the researchers spent watching it weren't enough to fully figure it out. To really get the full picture, they'll need days of data, and they're hoping to use NASA's Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, set to launch in 2027, to dive even deeper. Even though this mysterious object is not a rogue planet, they're definitely worth mentioning. These are basically planets that got kicked out of their home solar system. Yeah, like straight up evicted. When a planet forms, it's usually hanging out with a bunch of other planets around a star. But early on, things can get super chaotic. You know, planets crashing, shifting, getting too close to each other. And sometimes, one gets yeeted right out of the system. So since they're not tied to a star, these rogue planets are just cruising through the galaxy, totally solo. If they happen to float near something massive, like a star or a black hole, that thing's gravity can tug at them. But otherwise, they just keep drifting. Most of them probably got booted when their system was still forming, and everything was a mess. But according to a NASA scientist, even mature systems can throw a planet out if the orbit gets too weird or something big knocks into them. Now, the next planet we gotta discuss isn't rogue. It has a parent star and all. But there's another cool thing about it. It's still a baby in the middle of forming, and it's pretty rare to catch in action. The baby is already about 3 times the size of Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system. It's part of a system about 400 light-years away. It's been growing for about 5 million years, munching on gas and dust from the disk around its star, kinda like a cosmic buffet. But the thing is, when astronomers checked out the chemicals in the planet's atmosphere using a big telescope in Hawaii, things didn't add up. They were specifically looking at carbon monoxide and water, which can help figure out how much carbon and oxygen is floating around in that atmosphere. Turns out, the planet's chemical mix doesn't quite match the stuff in the disk it's forming from. That's a big deal because it goes against what scientists thought they knew about how planets are supposed to form. Basically, it's saying, hey, your fancy models might be a bit too simple. Planets are supposed to form by clumps of gas and dust crashing into each other and sticking together. Over time, they build up into full-blown planets. If that's true, then planets and their surrounding gas should have the same kind of stuff in them, chemically speaking. But PDS-70b is doing its own thing. So the scientists came up with 2 ideas to explain what was going on. It might be forming from solid stuff, like dust and ice, not just the gas in the disk. That solid material has carbon and oxygen trapped inside. So, by the time it melts and goes into the planet, it's already changed the chemistry. Or the gas in the disk got more carbon after the planet already formed. Luckily, there's another planet in the same system, PDS-70c, and scientists are hoping that by checking it out too, they'll be able to figure out the truth.
We've discovered Kepler-22b, a small exoplanet in the Cygnus constellation. Seems like nothing important, right? But it's actually a big deal. This is the first planet located in the habitable zone that was found by the Kepler telescope. In other words, there may be water on this planet, and if there's water, there may be life. Kepler 22b can become our new potential home. So let's take a closer look at it. Actually, discovering new planets is not easy at all. Not all of them can be seen through our super cool telescopes, even the almighty Hubble. Sometimes, the stars are so small and dim that it's really hard to find them on a map. The same thing happened with Kepler 22. In such cases, scientists have to use a special method. First, they take a bunch of photos of the star in different periods of time. Then, they look at them and think, are there any dark dots on this star somewhere? And if they find one, that might be a planet. These photos actually help us to discover some very important stuff. Like, first of all, this planet exists. Secondly, here is its size, radius, and proximity to the star. And finally, will we be able to live there? Now we know that Kepler 22b is very similar to our planet and could potentially become a second Earth. It's also very close to us, only 635 light-years away. Yeah, it's about 3 quadrillion miles, but this is one of the closest options. Kepler 22, the star of Kepler 22b, is a yellow dwarf. It's very, very similar to our Sun. The same size, the same radius, even the age is almost the same, 4 billion years. The difference is only in luminosity. It's about 20% dimmer than the Sun. So, no matter how much you strain your eyes, you won't see this star in the night sky. The planet Kepler 22b is about 2.4 times larger than our Earth, and that's pretty good. More radius means more potential water and space to live. Although going from one city to another would take a while. It's scary to even imagine a 3-day-long plane flight. We don't know the exact mass of this planet, but scientists think it's bigger than Earth's. Actually, the mass of Kepler 22b can be up to 36 times greater than that of our planet. What does it mean? Vigorous gravity. If the planet is 36 times heavier than Earth, then gravity there will be about 6 times stronger. Can you barely lift 20 pounds of potatoes? Try 120. Not to mention that you yourself can become much heavier on that planet. You'll have to get incredibly pumped up just to walk there. You have to literally turn yourself into a bodybuilder just to get to work. The worst thing is that with such gravity, it'd be incredibly difficult for plants to survive there. They'd need at least a little freedom to rise up from the ground. And animals. Our dogs and cats would have to turn into little balls of muscle to survive there. But if this planet has its own animals or other inhabitants, we can roughly imagine what they may look like. They probably have a lot of legs to make moving easier. They aren't really tall, but they're very massive and extremely strong. Muscular giant spiders? Could be worse, I guess. The good news is that this is all unconfirmed information. If we're very lucky, and gravity there turns out to be just a bit stronger than Earth's, then, of course, it'll be much easier to live there. The next thing we know about Kepler 22b is that it's about 15% closer to its star than we are to the Sun. If Kepler 22b existed in our solar system, it would be located somewhere between Earth and Venus. Does that mean we're all going to burn? No, silly. As I mentioned before, the star Kepler 22 is pretty cold, just some 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's why we can assume that the temperatures on Kepler 22b will be about the same as we have on Earth. If the planet orbits its star the same way Earth orbits the Sun, which we don't actually know, Kepler 22b can rotate around its star on its side, like, for example, Uranus. What? Didn't you know Uranus is actually lying on its side? Also, look at its rings. Yes, Uranus also has rings, like Saturn, but they're vertical. The universe is truly a mysterious place. So, if Kepler 22b is really something like that, then the weather on the planet will be, to put it mildly, not very good. Incredibly cold winters will be regularly followed by hot summers. And, just like with tidally locked planets, we'd be able to live more or less comfortably only on the narrow piece of land between these two crazy sides. Let's hope that this is not the case and the planet rotates normally. But it's not all that bad. Studies show that there may be an ocean on Kepler-22b. You already know that water means life, but in this case, it's also a big plus because a planet covered by an ocean always has more stable temperatures. The water absorbs some of the heat and distributes it evenly across the planet. The hot parts cool down, and the icy ones warm up. By the way, that's exactly what happened to Earth billions of years ago. When our planet started getting its first little puddles, our beloved moon helped these puddles to spread all over the planet. Thanks to this, a burning horror that used to be our Earth turned into a cute little ball full of life. So, if Kepler-22b has water but no atmosphere, scientists think that the average temperature there could be around 12 degrees Fahrenheit. But if there's also an Earth-like atmosphere, then the temperature can reach 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That would be nice. And finally, 1 year there is equal to 290 Earth days, about 9 months. The planet has no natural satellites, so unfortunately, we'd have to say goodbye to a beautiful view of the moon. On the bright side, we'd probably be able to see the sun as a distant little star. We could admire it in the night sky, remembering our home, while not hiding from giant spiders. And this is all that we know at the moment. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult to explore such planets, so there's a lot of very important data that we don't know. For example, what kind of planet is this anyway? Yep, we're missing the most important information about Kepler-22b. We don't know if it's a rocky planet or not. And if not, then all the previously mentioned information means nothing. It may turn out to be a gas planet, or a planet covered with gas but with a solid core, like Neptune, or a water world covered with a giant ocean. In this case, it better be a water planet. Then at least we could build some kind of underwater city there. We could filter the water and eat fish, until we evolve into an amphibious species. Does it even count as evolution if we go back to our roots? Scientists, however, think that Kepler-22b may turn out to be a Neptune-like planet. Some astronomers have even assigned the planet to a category of mini-Neptunes. Yes, this is a real planetary category. But this hasn't been proven yet. But even if, fortunately for us, Kepler-22b turns out to be a rocky planet, we still don't know what the atmosphere is like there. Does it exist at all? What if it turns out to be something like the atmosphere of Venus, which is more toxic than your ex? Then we'd have to dig deep underground to somehow survive on this planet. And then we'd have to come up with a heat source, because it's pretty cold underground. Yeah, let's hope this won't be the case. There are many possibilities with Kepler-22b. So far, we don't have a clear answer. But let's hope that scientists will find it before we load the first people into shuttles and send them to conquer Kepler-22b. That would be awkward if it turns out to be a gas planet, or something like that.
So, Mars has several faces. No, really. Back in 1976, when the Viking 1 orbiter was checking out the red planet, it spotted something interesting, a big structure that looked like a human face. It was in the region called Cydonia. It soon became very popular. A bit later, we also discovered the so-called crown face in Libya Montes. Mars in general has a lot of strange structures on it. In 2022, we spotted a door-like structure there. NASA's Curiosity rover snapped some pictures of a rocky mound called East Cliffs on Mount Sharp. This mound has natural cracks in it, and one of them is about the size of a dog door, like something from an ancient Egyptian tomb. A lot of people hyped that story up. The image was shared widely on social media, making the crack look bigger than it really is. Some people think that it's hinting at extraterrestrial life. But after looking closely, NASA found out that it was just a narrow crack in the rocky terrain. These cracks and gaps are pretty normal in rocky areas, both on Earth and Mars. The crack formed naturally over time, maybe from wind erosion or Marsquakes. Mars is a gold mine of mysterious structures. Recently, we found some strange spiral shapes there. These are giant coils made of lava, and they look like big springs or loops. For years, we weren't sure whether Martian valleys were formed by lava or ice. These lava coils are shedding light on that mystery. Now, thanks to high-resolution images from NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, researchers have spotted 269 lava spirals that can't be explained by ice-related activities. What's fascinating is these lava coils are like the ones we see on Earth, like those formed by Hawaiian lava flows. These spirals are so well preserved that they were easily overlooked before. They range from 16 to almost 100 feet wide and are subtle, blending into the dusty Martian landscape. These coils can teach us a lot about Mars's composition, especially its crust and mantle. We still don't know much about those. But Mars isn't the only planet with strange structures on it. For example, Saturn, the gas giant of our solar system, has a fascinating feature at its north pole, a huge hexagon. This is a hexagon-shaped cloud pattern. It's about 9,000 miles long, making it larger than the diameter of Earth. It's thought to be a jet stream made of gases moving very fast, at about 200 miles per hour. This hexagon was first spotted by the Voyager mission in the 80s, and later seen up close by the Cassini mission in 2006. The Cassini mission noticed a change in its color from blue to golden over time. There are different ideas about why Saturn has this thing. One theory suggests it forms because of the way winds move at different speeds near Saturn's poles. Similar shapes were created in lab experiments when liquids were rotated at different speeds. Another idea suggests that a slow spinning stream of air, along with Saturn's special weather patterns, might be responsible. In 2020, we found that when storms are surrounded by winds swirling in the opposite direction, they can create a steady hexagon shape. So far, this is the most likely explanation. Saturn also got lucky with the bizarre moons. One of them is called Lapidus. This moon has a weird feature, a huge ridge that wraps around its middle like a giant belt. This basically makes it look like a giant walnut. Where's my nutcracker? This ridge is incredibly tall by our standards, around 8 up to 12 miles high and stretching 124 miles wide. It covers more than 3/4 of the moon's surface and is considered the third largest mountain range in the entire solar system. Now, we don't have a clue about how this enormous ridge formed. It's unlike anything seen on other planets or moons. There's one idea, though. The ridge might be the remnants of a dead moon. Let's say billions of years ago, a colossal impact shattered chunks of material off Lapidus. These pieces circled around the moon, forming a mini-moon or sub-satellite. And over time, the gravitational pull of Lapidus tore this mini-moon apart, creating a ring of debris around it. As the debris from this ring fell back onto Lapidus, it built up the massive ridge we see today. They think this process happened quickly, maybe over centuries. Saturn's gravity didn't interfere because, luckily, Lapidus was quite far away from it. If Lapidus was closer to Saturn, its moon might have been pulled away. But we do need more simulations to see if this theory is true. Titan, another one of Saturn's moons, also has some weird stuff going on in its methane seas. Scientists have spotted these strange bright spots called magic islands that seem to pop up and disappear over time. We have no idea what they are. Titan's atmosphere is packed with complex organic molecules that clump together and fall to its surface like snow. These magic islands might be snow clumps that soak up methane and sink very slowly. But there's a problem. In water, molecules stick together, which is why stuff can float on top of it. But methane is different. It likes to grab onto other molecules, so it makes any solid thing sink immediately. Yet, these magic islands don't sink. There's a theory that these islands might be like sponges made of ice with lots of holes. When pieces of this holy ice come loose from the edge of the lake, they can float on Titan's seas for a bit before going down under. There are also other ideas, like bubbles of nitrogen gas or waves caused by wind. We need more research to know for sure. Moons like to be weird. Just look at our own one. In 1971, we found a patch with missing soil on our moon, and it looks like a blue lake. They call this mysterious spot Ina. We first spotted it during the Apollo 15 mission in 1971. Later, the Apollo 17 mission took clearer pictures of it. This spot, shaped like a bluish D letter, is one of the weirdest things on the moon. The color comes from special rocks rich in titanium called basalts. These rocks cover Ina's floor and make it look blue. There are also bluish areas near the edges of the mounds inside Ina. Ina is unique and probably has a long history. It might have had volcanic activity, with mounds that are about 3.5 billion years old. It's similar to the surface age of the volcanic field that surrounds Ina. Now, our moon has its own face, just like those on Mars. There's an area near the moon's south pole that looks like a face, but it's just a bunch of craters and shadows that happen to make an image resembling a face when seen from far away. These craters have been there for billions of years and cover about 16% of the moon's surface. Some of these craters might even have water and ice inside of them. You might be wondering why there are so many faces in our solar system. Well, that's because our brains are wired to recognize faces, even when there aren't any. It's a phenomenon called pareidolia. Our brains try to make sense of shapes, so when we see something that looks a bit like a human, our brain turns it into one because it's familiar. Like when you see a shadow figure on a chair with clothes, or even on Mercury. Some people see shapes like Mickey Mouse. So don't worry, it's not extraterrestrial life. It's our brains that play tricks on us, making us see familiar shapes like faces even where they don't really exist.